Chapter 2273. Thunder Mark Grass, Thunder Spirit Blood Ganoderma, Demonic Cloud Flower, Black Thunder Fruit. Shao Chun took out the other demonic fruits mentioned on the Black Mountain from his storage ring. These demonic fruits could not increase one's cultivation. Hence, he did not refine them that day. However, they were very valuable, so he kept them when he saw them. Every one of them contained pure Thunder Great Tao energy. However, they were all tainted with a demonic nature. To demonic Tao cultivators, they were supreme treasures with boundless value. Righteous Tao cultivators needed lunar water to wash away the demonic nature before they could refine them. As for Shao Chun, he did not have to worry too much. He directly consumed the natural treasures that no one cared about on the Black Mountain. If other demonic Tao cultivators were here, they would definitely exclaim in shock. This was too wasteful. Naturally, these incredibly precious herbs had to be refined into heavenly pills to ensure that their medicinal properties would not scatter. However, Shao Chun did not have any worries, as these things cost nothing to him. After Shao Chun consumed the many demonic nature pills, his entire body erupted with black lightning fire. The aura of the Thunder Great Tao in his body continuously soared, and he slowly broke through to the fourth layer of the Thunder Tao domain. Right now, the Thunder Tao was Shao Chun's strongest and most powerful foundation. He wanted to advance it to the next layer and see if his Thunder Tao domain could break through to the fifth layer. At that time, with the support of the alloy dragon armor, it would be even more horrifying. 7 days later, Shao Chun opened his eyes, and electric light flickered in them. His entire body radiated a terrifying Thunder Tao might. Unfortunately, I am still a little short. However, I managed to solidify my Thunder Tao domain to the peak of the fourth layer. All I need is an opportunity to break through. After spitting out a mouthful of turbid qi, Shao Chun muttered to himself, I should try it out next. Just how powerful was his pinnacle lightning Tao? The secret realm was a small world. Even if he caused a commotion here, there would not be any commotion in the outside world. Whoosh! Shao Chun stood up and his figure flashed. Then, he arrived at the center of this small world, a vast and boundless land with undulating desolate mountains. Bang! 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 An electric dragon image came out of the black gloves on Shao Chun's hand. It circled around Shao Chun's arm and spread to his whole body. Then, the two dragons merged. Purple dragon patterns appeared on his silver armor, and a pendant made of a reverse dragon scale hung between his eyebrows. Shao Chun's entire aura changed. It was the alloy dragon armor that belonged solely to Shao Chun. With a thought, his peak fourth layer Thunder Tao domain appeared. A horrifying Tao might filled the sky with thunderclouds. Break! Dragon patterns flickered on the armor. The dragon's soul contained in the armor activated the formations in it, bringing out a peak fourth layer Tao domain. Suddenly, it rose another level, reaching the peak of the fifth level. Ice Tao domain! Shao Chun shouted, and his second layer Ice Tao domain appeared. Immediately, heavy snow flew, and cold winds blew endlessly. The might of the Wei rose again, reaching the sixth layer. Saber Tao domain! Boom! The three Tao domains layered over each other. Shao Chun was like a powerful treasure saber standing in the world. The Tao might emanating from his body broke through layer by layer. 7th layer, 8th layer, 9th layer. The might of the Tao reached the 9th layer. Still not enough. 10,000 tribulation divine lightning, appear. The blue dragon divine seal shone brightly in Shao Chun's soul pool. Undercurrents immediately surged in the vast soul pool. There seemed to be a true dragon leaping about. The talisman formed by the immortal epic's 10,000 tribulation divine lightning was like a dragon breaking out of the sea, revealing the tip of an iceberg. In that instant, the entire soul pool filled with golden electric light, filling every corner. A golden talisman slowly appeared in Shao Chun's palm. Rumble! As the golden talisman surged, the entire secret realm trembled. It seemed like horrifying energy was brewing in Xiao Chen's body. Boom! When the golden talisman completely appeared, Xiao Chen's Tao might underwent a complete transformation, undergoing a qualitative change. Now, it reached a might that only a 10th layer Tao domain could display. Under the guidance of the golden talisman in Xiao Chen's palm, its might even surpassed that, looking incredibly horrifying. At this moment, Xiao Chen felt like he grasped a surging power. Even this small world seemed weak in his eyes. With just a light touch, the sky of this mystic realm would shatter into pieces and crumble. Withdraw. The talisman in Xiao Chen's soul pool, which had just revealed a small portion, vanished. The golden talisman returned to Xiao Chen's palm. Then, the 3 Tao domains returned to his body, and the alloy dragon armor slipped off his body. In that instant, Xiao Chen turned from the incredibly horrifying thunder god to a harmless 2-veined sovereign emperor that looked like nothing special. I can release and withdraw at will. It looks like those demonic nature Tao fruits were of great help to me. If my Thunder Tao domain had not reached the peak of the 4th layer, it would have been impossible for me to control this 10th layer Tao might. Xiao Chen muttered to himself. At the same time, he felt that his strength had reached a bottleneck in all aspects. His cultivation was stuck at peak 2-veined sovereign emperor. His Thunder Tao domain was stuck at the peak of the 4th layer, unable to advance any further. His 10,000 dragons art was stuck at the peak of the 2nd layer, unable to break through to the 3rd layer and reach the stage of 10,000 dragons soaring. His saber technique was stuck at merciless killing, unable to reach consummation. His saber Tao domain was also hard to break through. Perhaps the ancient Yen Emperor tomb is an opportunity for me to make a breakthrough in all aspects. A brilliant light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. If he broke through these bottlenecks one by one, it would be a miracle. If Xiao Chen broke through all these bottlenecks, his strength would undergo a true qualitative change. Even he could not imagine what it would be like. Let's not think about this for now. I'll stop here with the Thunder Tao domain for now. The next step is to properly refine the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and looked at the painting in his hand, filled with anticipation. It was time to use the flame seeds that he had exchanged for with his military merits before leaving the Heavenly Alliance. If one looked at the imperial capital from the starry heavens, one would see the 4th prince's residence in the imperial palace radiating dragon chi. Draconic energy surged, and their eyes shone with radiance. They revealed their ambitions as they stared above the imperial palace. Above them was the true dragon sword formed by the imperial capital's dragon vein, the Yen imperial sword. Whoever could hold this treasure sword, which symbolized the supreme authority of the Yenwu dynasty, would be the true dragon son of heaven, able to ascend to the Yen emperor's throne. At this moment, the aura of a great desolate Ian bloodline spread to every corner of the secret realm in the 13th prince's residence. Pairs of golden primordial divine eyes illuminated the sky, making it look like the sky was covered in gold. It was a shocking sight. At the summit of the highest mountain in the secret realm, the 13th Prince Wang Yi showed a smile as he looked at the golden sky, filled with lofty aspirations. 2 old men stood beside the 13th Prince. One of them wore a straw raincoat and carried a fishing rod on his back, looking like a fisherman. This was the White Marsh Beast Empire's royal teacher, Sikong Shu. The other person wore silver dragon robes and exuded might without showing any anger. He gave off the faint air of kingship. This was the Divine Dragon Empire's Silver Dragon King. Wang Yi said indifferently, "Seniors, we can begin now." The Silver Dragon King nodded slightly. Then, he shouted only one word, "Fight!" This shout seemed to ignite the great desolate Ian aura that filled the sky. Below, the vast world erupted with a startling battle intent. Many figures hidden in the dark appeared. Every one of them was a sovereign emperor and possessed a pure great desolate Ian bloodline. A startling chaotic battle started. The Silver Dragon King smiled and said, 13th Prince, aside from the Golden Crow Empire, all the sovereign emperors under 500 years old have gathered here. The last 10 people to emerge from this chaotic battle will follow you to the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. Sovereign emperors with a great desolate Eon bloodline are very strong in the first place, able to cross realms to kill enemies. Then, this old man can't think of any reason for the 13th prince not to be the crown prince. Wang Yi rejoiced when he heard that. He could not help guffawing. Senior Silver Dragon King, you are right. This is brilliant. The Bushin Palace truly lives up to being a super faction with the deepest accumulations. Such combat prowess is truly shocking. However, I originally wanted to reserve 3 spots for Brother Qin Ming, Brother Bai Yunfei, and Brother Xiao. Unexpectedly, the 3 of them participated in the battle as well. Sikong Shu said indifferently, the 3 of them are the strongest outstanding talents of the Bushin Palace. Even if they fight against the older generation outstanding talents several hundred years old, they will not be at a disadvantage. 13th Prince, don't worry. They will definitely be among the last 10 standing. A bright light flashed in Wang Yi's eyes. After some thought, he said, Is that so? In that case, I really have to take a good look. There were at least 400 sovereign emperors gathered in the secret realm. This chaotic battle was very startling. The Bushin Palace ruled over the 8 great empires. Its deep accumulations were somewhat terrifying. As the Silver Dragon King said, every one of the sovereign emperors here was incredibly strong. Indeed, there was no reason for the Bushin Palace to lose when the 10 were chosen to fight in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. However, the matters of the world were hard to predict. The ancient Yen Emperor tomb contained many variables. No one could guarantee that they would have the last laugh. The various princes anxiously recruited guests, choosing people with special talent. However, the secret realm of the first prince's mansion seemed a little strange. Inside the secret realm, Wang Fei showed a bored expression as he sat on the throne, downing cup after cup of wine. A middle-aged man, a 6-veined sovereign emperor, stood beside Wang Fei. He held a saber in his hand as he looked to the front with a grave expression. This person was Zhuo Yu, a peak expert that the Imperial Ancestral Temple's patriarchs nurtured in secret. The Imperial Ancestral Temple had been preparing for this succession race since several hundred years ago. This 6-veined sovereign emperor Zhuo Yu was the trump card that they carefully prepared for the first prince Wang Fei. A fortress ship with a blood moon banner hung in front of Zhuo Yu, anchored at the summit of a mountain range. The blood moon. This was the symbol of the Xuewu dynasty. A black-clad man whose cultivation was unfathomable stood in the hold of the fortress ship. He had an eye patch on the left side of his face, revealing his eye. If one were to look carefully, they would discover that there seemed to be a row of vermilion dots on the pupil of his left eye that was exposed under the eye patch. It was extremely strange. A man and a woman sat beside this black-clad man. Aside from them, the others stood behind these 3. The man on the left had a handsome face and a lotus-like air, showing a smile on his face. His elegant facial features nearly made people forget about his bald head and his identity as a monk. This was the previous Black Lotus Church Holy Son, the current Black Lotus sect venerate Ming Xian. If Xiao Chen were here, he would be shocked to see the woman on the right, thinking that Yang Qing came back to life. It would not be hard for those who paid attention to her to guess that she was the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter. At this moment, the focus was not on the 3 but on the person standing helplessly with his cultivation sealed. "My lord, I already searched his soul. He does not have any memories of the inheritance key in his mind." However, the black-clothed man with the mysterious left eye was dissatisfied. He looked at that person and muttered to himself, "Jiang He, the only son of the previous heavenly dragon. If even he does not know the whereabouts of the inheritance key, wouldn't that mean that no one in this world knows?" Chapter 2274. The mysterious and evil left eye and the deeply hidden temperament caused the man in black to feel a kind of fear from the bottom of his heart. Even Jiang He was no exception. Half a year ago, someone started chasing Jiang He. At first, he suspected that it was an assassin hired by the Golden Dragon Palace. However, he soon found out that it was the Xuewu dynasty's people. However, Jiang He did not care about it. He had a fortuitous encounter and obtained a movement technique that touched upon the space great Tao. Even if a peak sovereign emperor came to capture him, they might not be able to. Furthermore, he had other trump cards, so he did not fear them. Hence, Jiang He was extremely daring, whether it was a super faction or a hidden sect. As long as there was something that caught his eye, he would rush over and steal it, not fearing being caught. However, 2 months ago, when Jiang He first arrived at the imperial capital, he met this group of people. Jiang He did not know the identity of this person before him. He only knew that Ming Xian and that woman addressed him as Milord. I told you, right? I don't know anything about the inheritance key at all. I have no value to you at all. Why the need to be so persistent? Jiang He asked the evil-eyed man, who stood up with a bitter smile. The black-clad man glanced at Jiang He and said, "Aside from your father, the Heaven Dragon, no one else in the world knows the secret of the inheritance key. Even the purple gold dragon emperor could not tell him after torturing him for 20-odd years. Ha! In that case, go and look for him. At the same time, send my regards. My unfilial son cannot save him." Helplessness flashed in the depths of Jiang He's eyes. However, he hid it very well. Jiang He showed a carefree and indifferent attitude as he laughed softly. The black-clad man smiled coldly and ignored Jiang He. How could one go to the Starry Heavens Dragon prison just because one wanted to? Furthermore, even the purple gold dragon emperor could not say anything. He might not be able to ask, "Milord, is that possible?" The inheritance key's location does have something to do with him. However, he does not know it. Ming Xian stood up and analyzed the situation from a perspective that no one had thought of. "What do you mean?" the black-clad man asked, feeling curious. "For example, something very important on him was actually given to him by the Heaven Dragon, but he does not know it." Ming Xian sized up Jiang He, trying to find something on him. "We've searched him from head to toe. There are no other clues." Beside Jiang He, a purple-clothed old man answered somberly. "However, we did find something interesting in his memories. There are a lot of treasures in his storage ring, but I can't open it." Jiang He chuckled softly. "Do you want it? If you let me go, I can give them all to you." The black-clad man showed a cold expression, showing no interest. He sat back down and said, "Continue to seal him. When the time comes, bring him to the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. Perhaps he will recall something when he sees the ethereal Immortal Palace. If it doesn't work, then we'll use the second plan, which is to force a breakthrough." Yes. In the main hall of the ship, no one dared to disobey the black-clothed man's words. Even Ming Xian and the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter were clearly inferior to him in terms of status. Outside the warship, the Imperial Ancestral Temple expert Zui Yu, who sat beside the throne, said after some thought, "First Prince, are you really going to bring these people to the ancient Yen Emperor tomb? I do not doubt their strength. But these people are clearly demonic Tao cultivators. Could it be?" Wang Fei said calmly, "Commander Zhua, don't worry. Getting me to approach these people is the idea of some of the royal clan's elders. Even Imperial Father has to show some respect to these elders. Do you understand what I mean?" "I know. I understand all this." However, Zhua Yu showed a grave expression. He paused somewhat, not knowing how to continue. Using the Azure Lotus Church to keep the hidden spirit temple in check was the royal clan's strategy 1,000 years ago. It looked like the results were pretty good. In the past, the hidden spirit temple had never overridden the royal authority or interfered with the succession race. However, Zui Yu felt that something was wrong. He knew that the royal clan's elders wanted to use this group of people. However, if they were not careful, it might lead to a great disaster. Commander Zhua, this is something for the elders to worry about. There is no need for us to bother. Let me ask you, how strong are these people? Zhuyu indicated that he understood. Then, he seriously analyzed, they are very strong. Practically none of them are weak. At the very least, they are as strong as great perfection sovereign emperors. Some of them are even troublesome to deal with. Wang Fei nodded. After some thought, he asked, how strong is that evil-eyed man? He is somewhat unfathomable. If we fight, I estimate that he has only a 50% chance of victory. At the mention of that evil-eyed man, Zhuyu felt some fear. Wang Fei smiled and said, good. As long as he is strong, that is enough. I have already lost too much. I have to win this succession race. Hence, Commander Zhua, please don't worry. I can tell you that demonic Dao cultivators have entered every succession race. Zhuyu felt slightly startled when he heard that. Clearly, he had not expected such a thing. The royal clan is very clear on this. However, no matter how bold these people are, they would not dare to cause trouble in the ancient Yan Huang tomb. After that, some of the demonic Dao loose cultivators would even be secretly recruited by the royal clan. Hence, the royal clan has always turned a blind eye to this. The first prince said calmly, this world is not black or white. Commander Zhua, you have been cultivating bitterly for a long time. Although you are strong, your thoughts are somewhat pure. Zhuyu remained silent. He kept feeling that something was wrong with this. However, since the first prince already said that, there was no need for him to continue arguing. On this particular day, in the secret realm of the ninth prince's residence, Shao Chun appeared fatigued. He spat out a mouthful of turbid qi and sighed softly. I finally raised the primal chaos heavenly flame and the heavenly snow divine flame to rank 7. A Taiji yin-yang flame diagram appeared above Shao Chen's head, covering the sky and sun. The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram shrouded the entire secret realm's sky. The two heavenly flames chased each other in the sky like fish. The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram existed with the sky, looking down on all life. As the flames swam about, the entire world seemed to spin. When Shao Chen looked around, the scene around him distorted at the edges of his vision. After the two primal chaos grade flames rose to rank 7, they formed a Taiji yin-yang flame diagram again. As the flames swam about, they actually changed some of the spatial laws, giving Shao Chen a pleasant surprise. Withdraw! Shao Chen shouted. He opened his hand, and the picturesque sky appeared in his palm, firmly grasping it. Shao Chen revealed a satisfied smile on his fatigued face. Then, he said softly, I did not work hard in vain. Unfortunately, I do not have time to break through to the 10,000 Dragons Art's third layer. However, with these two trump cards, the ancient Yen Emperor Tomb should not require me to execute a forbidden art. Dragon's Gate's Forbidden Art, 9 Heavens God Demon Body Unsealing Technique. The stronger the bloodline, the stronger the might of the forbidden art. Using the blue dragon bloodline to trace the source, one could allow an ancient blue dragon to undergo a blood rebirth. If one was strong enough, it might even turn into a great desolate Ian ancestor dragon. However, once Shao Chun executed the forbidden art, his divine energy and soul energy would burn up. More seriously, if one did not have sufficient willpower and could not reverse the forbidden art, one would exhaust all their life force. To put it more bluntly, most people would not be able to reverse the effects of this forbidden technique. Once this forbidden art was executed, most people would have the determination and boldness to turn the situation around and perish together. The forbidden art was too risky. If not necessary, Shao Chun did not want to execute it. This was especially so for the 9 Heavens God Demon Body Unsealing Technique. If he failed, he would not be able to bear the consequences. I hope so. Xiao Chen felt that this trip to the ancient Yen Emperor tomb was a fortuitous encounter for him. However, the danger he faced might be the most competitive risk he had ever taken in his life. Today should be the day of the competition for slots. It is time to go out and see who the 9th prince has recruited. Whether Xiao Chen was willing or not, it was already time. He needed to go out. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and rested for a while. When he opened them again, his fatigue was swept away. He recovered his usual calm and collected demeanor and walked out of the secret realm, preparing to meet up with the 9th prince Wang Yan. Xiao Chen wanted to see who the 9th prince Wang Yan had recruited. If Xiao Chen was not strong enough, he would not be able to help the 9th prince obtain the throne alone. That is, the moment Xiao Chen came out, he looked up and discovered a scarlet color covering the sky. This startled him. When he looked carefully, he discovered a scarlet warship exuding a horrifying might. A war banner fluttered on the warship's bow. Xiao Chen could not help exclaiming, feeling excited. The Scarlet Blood War Banner. That is the Scarlet Blood Warship. Chapter 2275. The Scarlet Blood Warship. This is the legendary warship left behind by the legendary Scarlet Blood Pirate King. In that case, is Xiao Sua's group here? Back when they parted at the 100,000 Great Peaks, it had been close to 10 years since Xiao Sua saw them. Xiao Sua looked forward to this group of people inheriting the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's treasures and making a name for themselves in the 7 Forbidden Seas. Brother Xiao. The Heavenly Book scholar smiled faintly and appeared around the corner, arriving before Xiao Chen. You came at the right time. Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and fixed it on the Heavenly Book scholar. The Heavenly Book scholar smiled and said, "It's still all right. I estimated that you would probably come out on the last day. Hence, I came early. It looks like I was right." Xiao Chen did not say anything more. He asked directly, "Is that the Scarlet Blood warship above the royal residence?" The two chatted as they walked. When the Heavenly Book scholar mentioned the Scarlet Blood warship, he revealed a strange expression. He said, "Indeed. Speaking of which, it is rather coincidental. Ever since the 9th prince decided to seize the throne, his emperor's star has been rising. The strength of his luck has surpassed my expectations. Since you entered closed-door cultivation, experts have been coming to seek refuge. 3 days ago, the Black Cutlass pirate group that shook the Forbidden Seas came as well. It is not strange for a pirate group to target the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. After all, the inheritances and fortuitous encounters in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb are very attractive to sovereign emperors. However, I find it strange. Why did the Black Cutlass pirate group target the 9th prince?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything more. It looked like Xiao Sua's group did not see Xiao Chen. It was not surprising that Xiao Sua did not reveal his relationship with Xiao Chen. "Who else is coming?" Xiao Chen asked. "Wait and see for yourself. The 9th prince is already waiting for you." After a while, the two arrived at the main hall of the royal residence. Aside from the 9th prince and Su Yi, there was no one else. Wang Yan narrowed his eyes and looked at Xiao Chen in shock. After not seeing Xiao Chen for 1 month, Xiao Chen's strength had increased significantly again. This time, even Wang Yan could not make out Xiao Chen's strength. After nodding slightly, Wang Yan said softly, "Since Brother Xiao is already here, Chang Ji, get those main and backup guests to come over. Prepare to depart." "I'll go prepare." The Heavenly Book scholar left after receiving the order. Xiao Chen felt anticipation in his heart, curious about who would be there. "Is the recruitment of guests going smoothly?" Xiao Chen asked Su Yi and Wang Yan. Su Yi took the initiative to smile and say, "It is much better than I expected. Lord Xiao, you really hid yourself well. You have given the 9th prince and me a pleasant surprise." "Oh!" Wang Yan smiled mysteriously. "You will know in a while." Not long after, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside the door, and a person rushed in first. The newcomer was dressed in gray and had regular facial features. There was a deathly aura around him that could not be washed away. He exuded a forthright temperament, as if he rarely saw the sun, so his face was slightly pale. Xiao Chen's eyes immediately lit up as he said softly, "Qin Zhuolin." The person who arrived was Qin Zhuolin, the strong geomaster that Xiao Chen had met in the desolate sea back then. When they first met, they had met the desolate slave soul reaper. But the memory was so deep that it was hard to forget it even now. Of course, what was even more unforgettable was the bottle of heartburn that Qin Zhuolin gave Xiao Chen. That had cheated him badly. Now that Xiao Chen thought about it, he felt that he had suffered a loss. If he had kept heartburn until now, his strength could have improved. "Why are you here?" Xiao Chen could not help asking out of curiosity. This fellow frequently wandered the desolate seas underground, passing through many ancient tombs. It was rare to see him leave the desolate sea. Qin Zhuolin smiled and said, "Everyone in the world knows about the succession race in the ancient Yan Emperor tomb. Originally, I was not interested. However, I heard that you came to join in the excitement, so I came to take a look. Coincidentally, the 9th prince took a liking to it, so I stayed behind." Wang Yan said softly, "Mr. Qin is too humble." Following closely behind Qin Zhuolin was Ao Jiao. A stout man followed beside her, revealing most of his upper body and having a flame totem tattooed on it. Ao Jiao looked at Xiao Chen and smiled gently as she walked over. "This is?" Xiao Chen asked, finding it strange. The Bushan Palace had the 8 great empires assist the 13th prince. However, I heard that you became the 9th prince's guest, so I did not send the sovereign emperors. This is the strongest sovereign emperor under 500 years old in the Golden Crow Empire, Senior Hao Kai. The stout man did not show any arrogance. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Hao Kai greets the 9th prince and Lord Xiao. Since the divine daughter gave the order, I naturally have to do my best. I will follow the 9th prince's instructions on this trip." As Xiao Chen sized up Hao Kai, he felt startled in his heart. Hao Kai already possessed the strength of a 5-vein sovereign emperor. The fire-attributed energy in Hao Kai's body inspired fear. He probably had at least an 8th-layer Dao domain. By relying on his Golden Crow bloodline, Hao Kai was probably no weaker than Dao Yan. Right now, Xiao Chen did not know that Dao Yan already had a 10th-layer ice Dao domain and comprehended an ice small world, which was why he came to this conclusion. Gradually, more people appeared. Aside from Wu Meng, most of them were people that Xiao Chen was not familiar with. These were the guests that the 9th prince recruited himself. Among them, there was an old man who attracted Xiao Chen's attention. That old man was skinny. The light in his eyes was withdrawn, and he showed a calm expression. The 9th prince addressed this old man as Senior Feng. He was an expert of the Blood Eagle army, and also Wang Yan's strongest trump card. Xiao Chen did not pay much attention to this old man, as the appearance of someone in the main hall put significant pressure on everyone. Everyone could not help looking over. That person looked like a middle-aged man wearing long scarlet robes. His gaze was deep and calm. However, there was a frightening domineeringness on his face. His entire body gave off an unruly aura. "Big brother." This person walked straight to Xiao Chen and spoke in a deep voice with a sincere attitude. This startled many people in the main hall, making them feel incredibly surprised. Xiao Chen smiled calmly and said, "After not seeing you for 10 years, you did not let me down. You finally grew up." When Xiao Chen first met Xiao Suo, the other party did not even have a 3-star pirate ship. Now Xiao Suo had such an air. The change was truly great. Xiao Suo's cultivation had even reached 3-vein sovereign emperor, 1 grade higher than Xiao Chen's. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King's treasures were indeed legendary. "I'm fine." Xiao Suo did not dare to be presumptuous before Xiao Chen. After greeting Xiao Chen, he went to greet Wang Yan. All the guests had arrived. On the surface, the strongest were Senior Feng and Hao Kai. These two were great perfection sovereign emperors with 5 vain cultivations. As for the remaining small perfection sovereign emperors, Shao Chen felt that the stronger ones were Shao Suo, Qin Zhuolin, and the Heavenly Book Scholar. As for the others, aside from Wu Meng, Shao Chen was not familiar with them, so he could not evaluate them. In terms of overall strength, there was still a gap between them and the 3 princes. However, with this lineup, they would no longer be at the bottom among the princes. There was finally a glimmer of hope to become the crown prince. Let's go. Now that everyone is here, let's head to the Imperial Palace. Time was tight. After the competition for slots, the Dao platform to the ancient Yen Emperor tomb would open. This matter was very important. Naturally, they could not delay. After chatting for a while, Wang Yen led the group out of his residence and headed for the Imperial Palace. In this generation of the Yenwu dynasty, there were dozens of princes, regardless of their strength or status. All of them were qualified to recruit guests into the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. Most of them were destined not to become the crown prince. However, they could not give up on the inheritance and fortuitous encounters in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. Of course, there were some princes who hid themselves deeply, pretending to be pigs to eat tigers. No one could say for sure. It could only be said that this show was destined to be interesting. At this moment, the various princes in the various royal residences felt very pleased with themselves. They led their guests to the same destination, heading for the Imperial Palace in a grandiose fashion. There were still the final competition for slots in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. Naturally, the strong princes were filled with anticipation. The princes who did not intend to fight for the throne could not give up even if they wanted to. In the 3 challenges, as long as someone targeted them, they would have to send out their guests to fight. If they lost, they would lose 1 guest slot. If they won, the other party would have 1 less guest slot. After the competition for slots, the strong would naturally become stronger, and the weak would become weaker. This could be considered the prelude to the succession race. It allowed one to determine the true strength of the various princes. Chapter 2276. In the age of great competition, everyone was like a dragon. Then, the various princes set off for the Imperial Palace. The entire Yenwu dynasty's territory, including the astral domains in the outer seas, could feel the wheel of fate spinning. The dynasty's luck surged as if some kind of power was startling it awake from its slumber. At the Yenwu dynasty's Imperial Palace, where luck gathered, a vast dragon might spread out. The dragon might seem solid, turning into towering mountains circling above the Imperial Palace. A holy sword stabbed into those mountains, a holy sword that symbolized authority, status, and the Yen Emperor's throne. The princes with flourishing luck could even see this treasure sword that regular sovereign emperors could not see with the naked eye. As long as they could grasp this sword, they would become the crown prince of the dynasty and ascend to the Yen Emperor's throne. The place with the densest dragon chi in the Imperial Palace. Surrounded by the splendid palaces, there was a vast and boundless martial arts practice field. In the treasure hall in the clouds in the sky, the 108 feudal lords, the noble clans' clan heads, the sex pavilion masters, and many experts gathered here, preparing to watch the final competition for the slots. When noon arrived, the sun hung high in the sky. The various princes entered through the winding corridors in the Imperial Palace, entering the drill ground in a grandiose fashion. Outside the drill ground were many royal platforms and pavilions. The various princes entered the drill ground in an orderly manner according to their identities, ascending the tall platforms. The royal platforms were squarish and close to 100 meters tall. Banners fluttered on the railings in the surroundings. The princes sat there, and the guests either sat at the sides or stood there, sizing up the surroundings. The 9th Prince Wang Yen, Shao Chen, and the others ascended the royal platforms. At this moment, wind and clouds gathered. All sorts of extraordinary people, demonic geniuses, and outstanding talents appeared. Although there were many people in the drill ground, it was quiet. No one made a ruckus. In the air, many pairs of eyes met and collided, creating intense sparks. Those who could come here were all dragons among men. They had to go through many rounds of selection and elimination before finally standing here. Nearly all the sovereign emperors of the righteous Tao and demonic Tao under 500 years old in the entire martial epoch gathered here. Some of these people knew each other, had old grudges or new grudges. This made the trip to the ancient Yen Emperor tomb, which everyone looked forward to in the first place, even more exciting. What kind of show would there be? Aside from this, most of the sovereign emperors present knew what was going on. Aside from the succession race, there was an even bigger game in this ancient Yen Emperor tomb. Misty Immortal Palace. No one knew how many guests had come for the ethereal Immortal Palace. However, Shao Qin reckoned that there was at least a 70% chance that he had come. Even if he did not come for this, he had heard the prophecy of the ethereal Immortal Palace appearing. However, no one mentioned this matter. They had a tacit understanding. Shao Chen was also looking around to see if he could find any familiar faces and how strong the other princes were. Naturally, Wang Fei was one of them. Even if Shao Chen wanted to ignore the first prince Wang Fei, he could not. Outside the martial arts practice field, his aura was the strongest among the many kings' platforms. There were a total of more than 20 people, and he had 18 official candidates. If they won all 3 battles, the number of guests they would have would reach a terrifying 21. It was hard to imagine how horrifying the first prince's aura would be if Shao Chen had not ruined his wedding. Shao Chen casually glanced around and discovered an old acquaintance, Ming Xian. As Ming Xian stood behind the first prince, he had handsome facial features and a lotus-like air. He looked like a handsome man. However, he was a monk. That is, Shao Chen let out a soft cry of surprise. When he saw the woman not far from Ming Xian, a strange look flashed in his eyes. It's Yang Qing. The Yang Qing that Shao Chen once befriended in the Grave Sea Cluster. No, it is not Yang Qing. Yang Qing is already dead. This woman is the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter. The Yang Qing that Shao Chen knew was just her Nirmanakya. The Nirmanakya was a completely different person and could not be confused with her. Just as Shao Chen felt bewildered, that Yang Qing seemed to sense Shao Chen's gaze. She smiled meaningfully at him. Shao Chen withdrew his gaze, avoiding eye contact. As Shao Chen withdrew his gaze, he did not notice that there was another person on the first prince's platform. There was another person covered in a black robe. His entire body shone with a blood-colored light, within which lightning flickered. That person's eyes stared at Shao Chen like a venomous snake. Without a doubt, the first prince's platform was the most eye-catching spot. However, the first prince remained extremely low profile, sitting on the throne in the middle of the platform with his eyes closed. It seemed like the setback at the wedding had made the first prince withdraw his ambitions and endure silently, making him even more shrewd. Aside from the first prince, the most eye-catching ones were naturally the 8th prince and the 13th prince. The 2 of them each had 16 slots, second only to Wang Fei. Their lineup of guests was also extremely strong. On one side were the representatives of the entire Yanwu dynasty's sections. The 8th prince Wang Fei's platform was filled with sect demonic geniuses several hundred years old. None of them were weaker than 3 vain sovereign emperors. All of them were great perfection sovereign emperors. Among them, Dao Yan was the most eye-catching. His black eyes flickered with a faint icy light. Dao Yan's eyes looked as pure as an astral gem, startling everyone. However, no one knew that Dao Yan had already formed an ice small world. The 8th prince had gathered all the outstanding talents of his sect. The strength of his guests was flabbergasting. The threshold for the mercenary election was very advantageous for the 8th prince. He could recruit many experts without any effort. What was even more strange was that Emperor Wu's profound Heaven Holy Land's holy son, Wenren Yu, as well as the outstanding talents Mu Yunju and Gu Yuhan were among them. Everyone sighed in shock. The eighth prince had actually hidden himself so deeply. He only revealed that he had the profound Heaven Holy Land's support now. The 13th prince's guests were similarly shocking. Without exception, all of them were demonic geniuses with great desolate Aeon bloodlines. When the 13th prince stood there, the aura of his great desolate Aeon bloodline gathered, pressuring others. This was the innate advantage of his bloodline. Furthermore, these people were from the 7 or 8 empires under the Bushan Palace. Sovereign emperors under 500 years old fought against each other, becoming absolute elite. With one glance, Xiao Chen noticed several familiar faces, Bai Yunfei, Xiahozun, and the Dragon God Crown Prince Qin Ming. There were also some princes that Xiao Chen did not notice. These princes possessed terrifying strength as well. Someone wearing a thick cloak and hood stood behind the 4th prince Wang Yun. This person had his head buried. This was the hidden spirit temple's Yuan Zhen. He lowered his head, not looking at anyone. No one knew what he was thinking. The 6th prince Wang Ming was even more horrifying. The underworld god hall experts stood on his tall platform. The flood dragon human Yen Songming, old Xiao from the Battle of the Underworld River, the Buddhist sect traitor Zhen Yuan, and the Azura race and Rakshasa race experts. After disguising their identities, these people stood behind Wang Ming in a low-profile manner, not revealing anything. Others would find it hard to figure out where many outstanding talents gathered. They would not know what trump cards Wang Ming was hiding. There were too many outstanding talents, too much for the eyes to take in. There was simply no way to see them all. Even Xiao Chen could not guarantee that he did not make a mistake. He vaguely felt that the 8 super factions had sent people here in secret. This included the low-profile Pirate Alliance and the Underworld God Hall deep underground. Xiao Chen also saw Grim Reaper Lin Feng. The other party nodded slightly at him, not saying anything else. It looked like the Heavenly Alliance was planning to make 2 bets. On one hand, they had Mu Zifeng choose Xiao Chen and support the 9th prince. On the other hand, they had Swearenji send Lin Feng to support the 7th prince. They wanted to see who would emerge victorious. Unfortunately, they were somewhat disappointed. They did not see Chu Chaoyun. The Universe Origin Sect's people did notice him. However, Chu Chaoyun was not among them. Perhaps he was hiding among the other princes. Perhaps he had already given up the ethereal Immortal Palace key in his hand, staying out of this matter. Everyone gathered, good and bad mixed together. Clearly, the many powerhouses in the clouds had not expected this. To think that this succession race actually attracted so many outstanding talent. There were even some demonic Tao cultivators among them. Suddenly, a vast imperial might tore through the clouds, shocking the entire place. It was the Yen Emperor. As he hovered in the air, he looked down on everyone. When he swept his gaze around, everyone felt fear in their hearts, not daring to meet his gaze. With the Yen Emperor's sacred sword, the Yen Emperor was nearly unrivaled in the Yenwu dynasty's imperial palace. There was a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. He was well aware of the many princes and guests below. The ancient Yen Emperor tomb is reopening. Many thanks to all the outstanding talents who came from afar to help my son. This is especially so for my friends from the Demonic Tao Hall, the Underworld God Hall, and the Pirate Alliance. You are really bold. Whoosh! The Yen Emperor's words were like a clap of thunder, setting the place abuzz. A strange look flashed in the eyes of the many demonic Tao Loose cultivators, the Underworld God Hall cultivators, and the Shuowu dynasty's outstanding talents. These demonic Tao Loose cultivators felt that they had hidden themselves sufficiently, carrying shocking treasures. After concealing their demonic chi and mixing in with the prince's guests, they looked no different from ordinary loose cultivators. Unexpectedly, they were like child's play before the Yen Emperor. Just as everyone felt uncertain, the Yen Emperor's grave expression vanished. He smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry. This emperor will not make things difficult for you. The ethereal Immortal Palace might appear in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. If I do not let you in, there will be even more trouble. However, now that you have returned to my ancient Yen Emperor tomb, you have to abide by the rules of my Yenwu dynasty. If anyone dares to cause trouble, I guarantee that even if the underworld god appears or the demon master descends, they will not be able to save you. Chapter 2277. When the Yen Emperor suddenly brought this matter out in front of everyone, it caused quite a commotion. After all, the identity of a demonic Tao cultivator was very sensitive. However, the imperial capital Yen City was the #1 city in the world. It could be said to be the center of the entire Great Thousand Realms. Although the Tianwu dynasty and the Xunwu dynasty were stronger, they were not as open as the Yenwu dynasty due to the restrictions of the Universe Origin sect and the profound Heaven Holy Land. Even if one ran into a demonic Tao cultivator in the imperial capital Yen City, it would not cause much of a surprise. In every succession race, demonic Tao cultivators would participate. This was something that everyone had a tacit understanding about. Strictly speaking, Xiao Chen was also considered half a demonic Tao martial artist, so it would be difficult to investigate this matter. The dynasty turned a blind eye to this. After all, these demonic Tao cultivators would not dare to cause a ruckus. They all knew their limits and wouldn't go overboard. But this time, it was a little unusual. The battle for the Crown Prince had involved the emergence of the Immortal Palace, which had attracted the attention of too many demonic forces. Nearly all of the 8 superfactions had come. The number of demonic Tao cultivators far surpassed that of previous demonic Tao cultivators. The Yen Emperor's words were directed at the demonic Divine Hall and the Underworld God Hall. In other words, Xiao Qin wanted to intimidate the Universe Origin sect and the other superfactions. In the end, this place is the territory of my Yenwu dynasty. All of you have great backgrounds and cannot be offended. But don't go overboard. Don't think that I don't know about your existence. On the royal platform, Xiao Qin softly said, "Ninth Prince, it seems that you are worrying too much." Doubt flashed in Wang Yan's eyes. After some thought, he said, "I thought that Imperial Father did not know about Big Brother's collusion with the demonic creature dynasty. It looks like everything is within his grasp. However, why is that? The other party is a great enemy of my Blood Moon dynasty." The Heavenly Book scholar explained, "Your Highness, this matter involves the appearance of the ethereal Immortal Palace, the only transcendent grade soul tool in the world. If the Yen Emperor chased the people of the Underworld God Hall and the Demonic God Hall out, the Yen Emperor would definitely be killed. The other party definitely won't let this go. What do you think will happen then?" Wang Yan was not stupid. He quickly understood. At that time, the succession race will not continue. The faux god experts of the Underworld God Hall and the Xuewu dynasty might personally charge over and attack the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. The other super forces will definitely try to take advantage of the crisis and disrupt the situation. Thinking of this, Wang Yan felt a chill run down his spine. At that time, he could already foresee a calamity. The foundation of the entire Yenwu dynasty might be shaken. The Heavenly Book scholar nodded and said, "That's right. Hence, rather than blocking it, it is better to release it. The current situation is actually the best." Xiao Qun admired the Yen Emperor. The Yen Emperor's boldness and vision were indeed extraordinary. The 9th Prince was still a bit young. He spent most of his time outside, and the world in his eyes was either black or white. Today's events had taught him a thing or two about the structure of an emperor. After some words, the Yen Emperor stood in the air and announced loudly, "The fight for the slots begins now. Draw your swords." After speaking, the Yen Emperor's figure disappeared. Clang. Following that, an endless chain of clangs rang out on the surrounding royal platforms. These were the sounds of swords being drawn. The princes all had a Yen imperial sword replica. Although they were replicas, they were connected to the original. At a critical moment, They could even summon out the original Yen Imperial Sword to support them. This was an extremely special soul tool. What was even more special was that each Yen Imperial Sword replica contained a different Tao of each prince. For example, the 9th prince frequently guarded the borders, fighting enemies and killing demons. What he obtained was the Massacre Tao. When the succession race ended, there would be only one replica Yen Imperial Sword. This replica Yen Imperial Sword would carry its own Tao and receive the inheritance, becoming the supreme new holy sword, ruling the Yenwu dynasty. Clang! Wang Yen drew the Yen Imperial Sword in his hand and turned into a flash of light. The Yen Imperial Sword stabbed into the front of the royal platform. The dragon luck contained in the sword turned solid, turning into a 30-meter-long dragon image coiling around the royal platform. Immediately, dragons fought in the sky above the drill ground. The dragons roared ferociously, and dragon might spread out, covering the sky and sun. Clouds churned above the royal palace, and mysterious phenomena appeared. When looking around, the first prince had the strongest dragon luck above his royal platform. That dragon image was 63 meters long. As it coiled around the royal platform, it did not look angry or angry. However, it exuded might without being angry, shocking the surroundings and showing the air of an expert. Next were the 8th Prince Wang Feng and the 13th Prince Wang Yi. These two dragon images were 63 meters long. As their dragon images swayed, they continuously challenged the dragon image above the first prince's royal platform. The competition went without saying. Most of the other princes were like the 9th prince, with 30-meter-long dragon images. Only a few princes had much weaker dragon luck, which was exceptionally obvious in this competition. If nothing unexpected happened, these princes with weaker dragon luck would be the targets of the strong dragons. In the competition for slots, these princes would definitely be targeted by others, making them their priority opponent. How surprising! To think that the 9th prince's dragon image is 23 meters long. When did his dragon luck become so strong? That's right. The 9th prince's presence has always been weak, and he clearly has no intention of competing. His accumulations are actually quite deep. However, that is all. The truly strong ones are still the 1st prince, the 8th prince, and the 13th prince. A strong dragon luck is indeed extraordinary, far surpassing that of the other princes. Did you notice the 6th prince Wang Ming? Although his dragon image looks small, in reality, it spun around a few times. In reality, it is at least 13 meters long. This person really hid his strength deeply. If you hadn't mentioned it, I would not have noticed it. This 6th prince really does not reveal himself. It is fine if he does not do anything, but he wants to shock the world with a single brilliant feat. Quick, look. The competition for slots is starting. The 8th prince is the first to challenge the 19th prince. The powerhouses in the palace in the clouds that had noticed the 6th prince Wang Ming all turned their heads to look. The 8th prince Wang Feng was the first to send out a guest to challenge the 19th prince. The 19th prince's dragon image was only 23 meters long. Clearly, he could not send out a strong guest. The 19th prince smiled bitterly and said helplessly, "I did not even intend to fight for the throne. I just wanted to try my luck in the ancient imperial tomb. To think that I would not let this off." The 19th prince did not choose to resist fearlessly. He directly gave up, letting the other party win. It was not that the 19th prince did not want to accept the challenge, but that he wanted to keep a strong guest to fight the other princes. This was because the 19th prince clearly could not compete with the strong 8th prince. There was no need for him to waste his effort. The 8th prince's victory, easily obtaining a slot. This immediately set off the horn for the competition for slot. A somewhat chaotic challenge took place in the arenas of the drill ground at the same time. There was an arena in front of each king's platform. If the other party wanted to fight, they would have to fight. If the other party wanted to challenge them, they just needed to jump into the arena and raise their prince's banner. The rules were simple and clear. Senior Feng, should we take the initiative to challenge or wait for the others to challenge us? Wang Yan asked Senior Feng, the oldest of his guests. This Senior Feng was an expert of the military, possessing deep cultivation and rich experience. Senior Feng looked around and replied, "Our accumulations are slightly weaker. It is best not to take the initiative to expose ourselves. Let's wait for the others to challenge us." Senior Hao Kai, what do you think? Wang Yan looked around and fixed his gaze on the Golden Crow Empire's Hao Kai. Hao Kai's cultivation was about the same as Senior Feng's. They were both great perfection five-veined sovereign emperors who possessed the Golden Crow bloodline. Not to mention experience, their combat prowess was even stronger. I have no objections. I will follow your Highness's instructions. Wang Yan then asked Shao Chun and the Heavenly Book scholar. The two indicated that they did not need to take the initiative to challenge, so they listened to everyone's opinion. He's here. Shao Chun looked around and saw a banner land on the arena in front of the royal platform. This humble one is Duanmu Huanghun. I am here on the fourth prince's orders to challenge the ninth prince for a slot. The person who came was dressed in embroidered clothes and looked like a middle-aged man. His tone did not show any sharpness, but he was a four-veined great perfection sovereign emperor. Wang Yan smiled faintly and said, "So, it is an expert from the Duanmu clan. Who is willing to fight?" "I'll do it." Xiao Suo took the lead and stepped forward, requesting to fight Wang Yan. This humble one is willing to fight as well and help the ninth prince take down this person. Another youth among Wang Yan's guests stepped forward. A sharp light flashed on his face, radiating a strong fighting spirit. This person's name was Jin Mingxiu. He was an extraordinary person that Wang Yan had taken the initiative to recruit with the help of the Misty Rain Pavilion's resources. Su Yi had personally recommended him. Wang Yan smiled softly and said, "Mingxiu, don't be impatient. Since Captain Xiao spoke first, let Captain Xiao fight this battle." Jin Mingxiu felt somewhat unconvinced, but he still obeyed and stepped back. Whoosh! Xiao Suo's figure flashed, and he landed heavily on the arena. Then, he looked at the other party calmly. Doubt flashed in Duanmu Huanghuan's eyes. He had thought that the other party would send Senior Feng or Hao Kai. At the very least, it would be the famous Shao Chun in the imperial capital. Unexpectedly, the ninth prince underestimated him so much, sending a three-veined sovereign emperor nameless person. It looks like the ninth prince does not have any desire to compete. In that case, I will accept this slot. Seeing that his opponent was not Shao Chun, Senior Feng, or Hao Kai, Duanmu Huanghuan's reserved and senior attitude vanished, replaced with arrogance. Xiao Suo's lips curled up in a smile. Shocking waves surged, and a sea of blood surged. Xiao Suo, who looked experienced and steady, did not show any sharpness, but his emperor's might soared. A scarlet mark on Xiao Suo's forehead released a dazzling light. With a wave of Xiao Suo's hand, the scarlet blood war banner appeared. Without saying anything, Xiao Suo charged over with a berserk and bloodthirsty aura. Duanmu Huanghun felt greatly startled. He had not expected a nameless person to be so tyrannical. By the time Duanmu Huanghun startled to his senses, the scarlet blood war banner had already swept over. Pa, pa, pa. The scarlet war banner moved up and down like waves, unleashing an unending stream of energy. Duanmu Huanghun sent out 3 palm strikes. With each palm strike, he scattered a wave of energy. However, the waves piled on top of one another. The attacks contained in the Scarlet Blood War banner surged endlessly. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King's legacy brought back the glory of the past in Xiao Suo's hands. After 10 moves, Duanmu Huanghun retreated to the edge of the arena, unable to retreat any further. Just as Duanmu Huanghun was about to take out his life soul tool and fight to the death, Xiao Suo shouted. The sea of blood surged as he stood on top of the waves. He gently waved the war banner, making it look like a spear as he thrust it down from above. Bang! 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 The light waves that Duanmu Huanghun formed with his great Tao energy shattered layer by layer. The Scarlet Blood War Banner easily broke through all his defenses. I admit defeat. Seeing Xiao Sua's berserk aura slowly approach, Duanmu Huanghun felt horrified. Duanmu Huanghun felt that if he continued fighting, he would definitely lose. Furthermore, he would suffer severe injuries, so he quickly admitted defeat. Thank you for letting me win. After defeating his opponent in 10 moves, Xiao Sua put away the fourth prince's royal banner and returned to the royal platform. Good! Wang Yen praised Xiao Sua with joy in his eyes filled with excitement. In this battle, Xiao Sua helped Wang Yen show his sharpness. No one dared to underestimate him anymore. Chapter 2278. Defeat the enemy in 10 moves, seize the flag, and leave. The 10 moves seemed simple, but only Duanmu Huanghun knew what kind of pressure he was facing. The arena was a small world with a universe within it. It was incredibly vast, suitable for sovereign emperors to fight. Duanmu Huanghun had no choice but to admit defeat before he could unleash his aura. However, he wholeheartedly accepted his loss and had no complaint. It was very difficult for others to understand the terrifying baleful aura on Xiao Sua's body, as well as the oppressive domineering aura when he leaped up and descended from the sky. The aura that Xiao Chen showed was nothing like that of a three-veined sovereign emperor. The flag in your hand is the Scarlet Blood War Banner that the legendary pirate king left behind. Duanmu Huanghun asked Xiao Sua, who was already standing on the royal platform, a little disgruntled. This was because he also had an inferior-grade soul tool artifact in his possession, but he had been too careless to summon it at the start. If he had taken out his life-bound armament right from the start, he might have had a 50% chance of winning. However, if the other party really had the Scarlet Blood War Banner, then there would be no point in taking out his life soul tool. Good eyesight. Xiao Sua did not comment, which could be considered as an answer. After Duanmu Huanghun heard this, the unwillingness in his eyes dissipated. He knew that he had no chance at all. Even if he had taken out his life-bound artifact from the start, the result would still have been the same, just that he wouldn't have lost so badly. Because of Xiao Chen's existence, no matter how low-key the ninth prince was, he would still attract a lot of attention. This clean and efficient battle in which he defeated his opponent in 10 moves immediately caused a sensation. It is actually the Scarlet Blood War Banner. Good fella, no wonder the ninth prince's luck is 9 zhang long. He has been hiding it well. With the Scarlet Blood War Banner in hand, it is not hard to understand why a three-veined sovereign emperor could defeat a great perfection sovereign emperor. Above the clouds in the palace, when the Yen emperor saw the ninth prince's performance, his eyes lit up. He smiled at the people beside him and said, "Ninth brother is not bad. Aside from Xiao Chen, you managed to recruit such a guest." The imperial clan elders around him were also surprised and kept an eye on the ninth prince. On the royal platform, the ninth prince smiled and said, "Well done, Xiao Su." Xiao Su remained unfazed. He said humbly, "It is just the advantage of the spirit weapon in my hand. Ninth prince is overpraising me." The heavenly book scholar smiled faintly and said, "Captain Xiao is being humble. The Scarlet Blood War Banner cannot shine in anyone's hands. After the Scarlet Blood Pirate King died, this war banner went through at least 3 owners. However, none of them could bring out its wondrous effects, rendering it useless. Hence, it was slowly lost. The guests on the fourth prince's royal platform of the Jiu all showed unhappy expressions. But, by doing, Shaoxi, of people of Dukes 1. The fourth prince Wang Li, on the other hand, had a thoughtful expression on his face. He seemed to be indifferent to the loss of the quota. Wang and Wang, the Wang of Wang of Wang of and Wang. and of. Lord. Into to and in of. Ninth brother, you really hid yourself deeply. Wang Feng looked at the ninth prince's royal platform and thought to himself, after entering the ancient Yen emperor tomb, I have to keep my guard up against ninth brother. I cannot underestimate him. Eighth prince, do you need me to get someone to help you suppress the ninth prince's arrogance? The profound heaven's holy son, Wenren Yu, asked softly with a faint smile. Aside from him, the strongest true inheritors of the profound heaven holy land, Gu Yuhan and Mu Yunju, stood on Wenren Yu's left and right. These two were no longer the same as before. Their strength had improved significantly. Wang Feng thought for a while before replying calmly, there's no need. I have not fallen out with him yet. I will not offend him if I can. Hey. As Wang Feng spoke, he shifted his gaze to the first prince Wang Yen. I am the Heavenly Wolf Empire's Tuoba Yao. On the 13th prince's orders, I am here to ask for a spot from the first prince. The outstanding talent of the Heavenly Wolf Empire, one of the 8 great empires, Tuoba Yao, pointed his royal banner at Wang Fei. Right after Tuoba Yao spoke, the entire place fell silent. Nearly everyone turned their gazes over. Wang Feng smiled and said, Little 13 is really bold. However, it is good for him to test you. Let's see how many trump cards Big Brother has. I really want to know if he is just bluffing or not. Although the first prince's royal platform had a strong luck, it was very stable, low-key, and reserved. When the competition for spots started, the first prince had not taken the initiative to fight, and no one dared to take the initiative to mock him. However, now, someone finally could not hold back and made a move against him. The Tuoba Yao on the arena had a head of purple hair, a muscular body, and slightly tanned skin. He radiated the wildness of a wolf, and lightning flickered in his eyes. When he smiled, he looked very wild. Humph! Wang Fei showed a sullen expression as he tightly grabbed the armrest. Then, he said coldly, taking advantage of others, Zui Yu, the left-eyed man hidden in the shadows behind Wang Fei, said calmly, First Prince, please calm down. It is not Commander's turn to make a move on such a clown. Which one of you is willing to make a move and help the first prince gain face? A man clad in black, shrouded in bloody shadows, stepped forward. This person looked at Ming Xian as if seeking his opinion. Ming Xian nodded slightly and did not say anything. Lord Shi, let me do it. Oh? Mr. Gong is willing to make a move. In that case, victory is certain. The black-clad man with the mysterious left eye seemed to be interested in this person shrouded in bloody shadows. Whoosh! The figure of this person shrouded in bloody shadows flashed, and he landed on the arena. Then, he looked at Tuoba Yao and said, I will be your opponent in this match. Tuoba Yao frowned slightly and asked coldly, hiding your head but showing your tail? Who are you? The voice of the person shrouded in bloody shadows was somewhat hoarse as he replied indifferently, the person who will defeat you. Boom. Right after the person spoke, countless blood-sucking vines leaped out of the ground like venomous snake. These blood-sucking vines soared into the air, leaving behind many scarlet shadows as they charged at Tuoba Yao. The speed of these blood-sucking vines was flabbergasting. What was even more horrifying was that these blood-sucking vines seemed to be alive, reproducing at every moment. In almost a moment, the vines had covered the entire small world, and the vast space in the arena was completely covered by vines. This was already a special field that resembled a small world. Horror flashed in everyone's eyes when they saw this scene. Normally, such a special field only appeared in strong ferocious beasts and rarely appeared in cultivators. It looked like the blood-sucking vines would form a barrier isolating Tuoba Yao from the world. A strange look flashed in Tuoba Yao's eyes as he said, insignificant tricks. I'll defeat you in one move. A golden light flashed in Tuoba Yao's eyes. He activated his great desolate Ian bloodline. Tuoba Yao's aura soared as he roared, causing thunderclouds to churn. In that instant, a startling Tao might erupted from his body. With the support of his great desolate Aeon bloodline, Tuoba Yao's Thunder Tao domain reached peak 5th layer. Electric light flashed all over Tuoba Yao's body. His great desolate Aeon bloodline was indeed extraordinary. The Emperor's might coming from Tuoba Yao was vaguely stronger than that of a four-veined sovereign emperor. You are still too inexperienced to play lightning with me. The mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows smiled coldly. Scarlet electric light suddenly burst out of his body as scarlet vines shot out. Each vine gave off electric light that looked like scarlet flames. The strange scarlet electric light instantly suppressed Tuoba Yao's seemingly unblockable 5th layer Thunder Tao domain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands of blood-sucking vines surged out like venomous snakes, breaking through Tuoba Yao's Tao domain and biting him. A sharp, miserable scream immediately rang out in the Yanwu arena. Tuoba Yao knelt on the ground and howled in pain. His cries were extremely tragic, making everyone tremble in fear. Xiao Chen showed a grave expression. He saw something even more horrifying. Those blood-sucking vines seemed to be absorbing this person's bloodline power. After the blood-sucking vines passed, the scarlet flame lightning on the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows turned even stranger. I admit defeat. Tuoba Yao said these 3 words with some difficulty. These 3 words seemed to exhaust all his vital qi. Plop! The instant the blood-sucking vines returned, Tuoba Yao knelt on the ground with a plop. Tuoba Yao appeared dispirited, no longer showing any of his initial sharpness or wildness. He looked like a completely different person, losing most of his energy. The entire place fell deathly silent. Horror filled everyone's eyes. This mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows was too scary. It was not that he was terrifyingly strong. It was just that his secret techniques were so evil that they inspired fear. Be it the small world-like blood-sucking vines domain, the scarlet flame lightning, or the final blood-sucking demonic vines, they were all incredible and horrifying. The mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows attack showed everyone how terrifying the first prince was. He truly lived up to his 60-meter-long luck. The disguised Yen Songming, who was behind the 6th prince Wang Li, sighed softly. The Black Lotus Holy Son and the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter have not made a move yet, not to mention that person. The demonic Dao Hall's strength is still unfathomable. What's wrong? Young Master Yen, you do not seem confident enough? Wang Li asked softly with a slight frown. Yen Songming replied indifferently, You have not seen how horrifying that person is. The mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows inspires fear, but he inspires despair. Chapter 2279. At the 9th Prince's royal platform, Wang Yen asked, Everyone, what do you think? Good. Everyone is here. As for the guests who have not arrived, listen to me first before taking action. In the first round of the succession race, you need to collect dragon essence. You can enter the second round only after collecting enough dragon essence. The dragon essence you collect will eventually gather in my Yen Imperial Sword and increase my dragon essence. After a while, the drill ground gave off a bright light, and a Dao platform slowly rose. Xiao Chen moved like a swallow as he soared into the air and landed firmly on the ground. The Heavenly Wolf Empire's guests showed awkward expressions. No one said anything for a long time. Just at this moment, the 9th Prince's voice rang out in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. Wang Ming revealed a contemplative expression. Then, he said indifferently, I hope it is as you wish. There was also a boundless pressure of the great desolate Aeon spreading out everywhere. This ancient aura had never been so clear before. Xiao Chen took out a jade strip which gave off a faint light. When he held it in his hand, it dispelled the chill. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen chose to stay behind, not rushing to meet up with the 9th Prince for now. There was no one in the surroundings. Sikong Shu said indifferently, 13th Prince, don't get anxious. At the very least, we managed to probe the first prince's strength. This person did not lose much of his accumulations because of the wedding. This might be a good thing for us. Xiao Chen seemed like he woke up from a dream. After a pause, he said, "Let's do our best and leave it to fate. Now that he has revealed his sharpness, we should not be the ones worried. Rather, it should be the 8th prince and the 13th prince. This is definitely a good thing for us." Xiao Chen held the jade strip to his forehead, and a 3D map appeared in his mind, a rough map of the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. As for the strong princes, the dragon essence around their Yen imperial swords had increased significantly. If Xiao Chen saw right, that figure should be Jiang He, who had not shown himself for a long time. However, how did he become the first prince's guest? The Heavenly Book scholar nodded and said, "That's right. Our strength is not as simple as it looks." After entering the ancient Yen Emperor tomb, the Heavenly Book scholar would bring out its true potential. Before the first prince was defeated, the two of them would not attack each other. It could be considered a simple alliance. Everything was done in silence. Wang Yen seemed to think of something. He said seriously, "I'll say one more thing. This place has existed since the ancient immemorial era. If there's enough dragon essence in the jade strip, you'll be able to better adapt to this place and display your full strength." "Alright, I'll stop here." The strong became stronger, and the weak became weaker. There was one more thing that Yen Tsangming did not say in his heart. If there was one person who could make others feel despair, then Yen Tsangming was despair itself. The man shrouded in blood instills fear in people, but that person instills despair in people. This is the strength of the Heavenly Wolf Empire's elites. Heavy snow swirled in the air, strong winds howled, and the cold wave was so fierce that it made people shiver. As they were speaking, Wang Yi felt a gaze on him. He turned his head and saw that it was the 8th prince, Wang Feng. "Everyone, don't panic." The competition for slots proceeded in an orderly fashion under the Heavenly Book scholar's suggestions. Wang Yen stretched out his hand and sheathed the Yen imperial sword on the ground. Then, his 30-meter-long dragon essence turned into a flash of golden light and vanished. As the 10,000 dragons art circulated in Xiao Chen's body, dragon images shone in his divine energy sea. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen did not feel much spatial pressure. After Xiao Chen and the Heavenly Book scholar spoke, the 9th prince's guests calmed down. Standing at the top of a snowy mound, Xiao Chen opened his heavenly eye and saw the scene within 50,000 kilometers. The others expressed their opinions one after another, worrying about the first prince's strength. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. It looks like the 9th prince can forcefully pull people to his side. This is probably a form of protection. Xiao Chen analyzed in his heart. This Yen Emperor is rather special. He is exceptionally skilled in the Ice Great Tao, resulting in heavy snow and cold qi everywhere his inheritance covers. However, I can't push my luck. I'm pretty lucky. At the very least, I'm pretty close to the inheritance. Senior Feng sighed softly. He is unfathomable. There are several auras on the first prince's platform that make this old man feel fear. I can sense that the person shrouded in bloody shadows is definitely not the first prince's strongest guest. Feeling confused, Xiao Chen asked, "Dragon essence?" After entering the ancient Yen Emperor tomb, you will be randomly sent to the periphery of the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. There will not be any danger for now. If you want to meet up with me, you can send a message to me through the jade strip that I gave you. Such a change relieved Xiao Chen of a significant amount of pressure. The so-called dragon essence can be understood as the materialization of dragon essence. This place contains the dynasty's dragon vein's ancestor vein. The ferocious beasts born here and the inheritances left by the previous Yen Emperor all contain dragon essence. The treasures and soul tools in the inheritances also contain dragon essence. Everyone can keep these treasures and soul tools for yourselves. Just remember to store the dragon essence in your jade strip. Me? After the blue dragon bloodline in Xiao Chen's body merged with this aura, It appeared excited, raring to give it a try. The Golden Crow Empire's Hao Kai said, "I feel the same." The competition for slots came to an end. The ancient Yen Emperor tomb's inheritances were left behind by the previous Yen emperors after they died. The inheritances varied according to the cultivation techniques they cultivated. After observing for a while, Xiao Chun had a rough idea of where he was in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. The ancient Yen Emperor tomb was about to open. These simple words could be considered a vow before leaving. Senior Feng, Senior Hao Kai, and Chang Ji, make some preparations. I will use the Yen Imperial Sword to send you to my side. As for the others, if you want to, you can move alone or come to my side. Just send a message. Some people rejoiced, while others worried. The dragon essence of the originally weak princes weakened significantly. In the following 2 matches, the 9th prince purposely lost 1 match before winning the 3rd. The ancient Yen Emperor tomb is about to open. Princes, please lead the guests in according to the order of the royal platform. That is, whoosh! The Yen Emperor's voice rang out in the sky. In the next moment, the first prince soared into the air. He brought along a large number of guests and entered the Taoist gate in a single file. The first round will last for 1 month. I hope that everyone can help me collect more dragon essence. Otherwise, if I do not have enough dragon essence, I will not be able to compete in the 2nd round. At that time, everyone and I will be forced to leave. Also, if you run into danger, you can shatter this jade strip and leave the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. Xiao Chen's eyes were sharp. He seemed to see a familiar figure among the first prince's many guests helplessly entering. According to the map, I should be within the range of the 500th Yen Emperor's inheritance. Wang Yi showed a slightly unsightly expression on the 13th prince's royal platform. The two looked at each other. After a simple exchange of glances, they reached a consensus. When the 6th prince Wang Ming heard that, he felt slightly stunned. After some thought, he said, "Even you feel despair?" There was no time to think. Soon, it was the 9th prince's turn. Since the 9th prince was at the periphery, the inheritance left by this Yen emperor should not be much of a surprise. The divine energy sea in Xiao Chen's body surged, materializing many golden dragon images and wildly absorbing the great desolate Yen aura. Jianghe? As Xiao Chen held the jade strip, he muttered to himself, "Spatial pressure?" Before coming here, Wang Yan had given every guest a jade strip. At that time, he did not mention its use. Boom! When Xiao Chen opened his eyes, he found himself in the vast snowy region. Clang! However, holding the jade strip helped Xiao Chen reduce the chill significantly. A bright light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. Then, he said, "Since that is the case, I have to monopolize this inheritance. Treasures and soul tools could be kept for myself." No wonder others wanted to enter so badly. The commotion caused by the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows was significant. The battles in the other arenas immediately paled in comparison. "I will definitely do my best." This place was indeed somewhat strange. His movement technique and cultivation all suffered restrictions. Even the range of his heavenly eye significantly shrank. Boom! Many thanks to everyone this time. We are about to enter the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. I hope that everyone can work together and help me. Lord Xiao, what about you? Everyone soared into the air and entered the door of light one after another. Light and shadow turned blurry, and space and time changed. The 9th prince's voice rang out again, clearing up Xiao Chen's doubts and filling him with anticipation for the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. After putting down the jade strip, Xiao Chen looked around before soaring into the air. Before Yen Tsaming said anything, Zhen Yuan, who was at the side, said softly, "6th Prince, there is no need to worry. The strongest might not necessarily be the winner in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. There are many variables that no one can predict. Otherwise, we would not have made this trip." Wang Yi's eyes flickered. After a while, he smiled and said, "That's true. I believe that eighth brother does not feel good in his heart right now. In that instant, it felt like countless chains shattered. Now, Shao Chen did feel significant pressure. What was even more wondrous was that the 10,000 Dragons art could no longer be controlled by Shao Chen, circulating on its own. Whoosh. Chapter 2280. The vast snowy region only spanned a few 100,000 kilometers at the very most. Sovereign emperors could traverse such a distance in a few breaths. If they sent out their soul energy, they could see every movement in the entire snowy region. However, this was the ancient Yen Emperor tomb, a world that had not changed since the ancient immemorial era. The great desolate Aeon's aura had never appeared before everyone so clearly before. Even Shao Chen's divine skill, the heavenly eye, was limited to 50,000 kilometers. This showed how horrifying the pressure from the great desolate Aeon was. Fortunately, for some reason, Shao Chen's 10,000 Dragons art was exceptionally active in this place. Without needing to think about it, it circulated freely, greedily absorbing the great desolate Aeon aura in the air. It vaguely showed signs of breaking through the second shackle at any moment. This place is a treasure land for cultivators with great desolate Aeon bloodlines. Shao Chen entered deep thought, muttering to himself. This went without saying for Shao Chen, who possessed the 10,000 Dragons art. However, the pressure still existed, making it somewhat inconvenient for his movement technique. Traveling like this still drains a lot of energy. Shao Chen sighed as snow drifted over him. This place was too cold, making it hard to melt the accumulated snow. The coldness contained in the snow could be considered cold poison. This was not too harmful to a sovereign emperor's body. However, it took a lot of effort to disperse it. Coupled with the consumption of divine essence while sprinting, it somewhat made people feel restrained. Boom! A red light flashed as Shao Chen summoned out the demon blood vulture. Now, the demon blood vulture's bloodline had reverted to its ancestors, showing some signs of a blood phoenix. How much of your strength can you bring out in this ancient Yen Emperor tomb? 80%. As a mutated beast with a great desolate Aeon ferocious beast bloodline, the demon blood vulture could adapt much better than human cultivators. That's enough. Shao Chen gently pushed off with his feet and sat on the demon blood vulture's back, using it as a form of transportation as he flew through the snowy region. The demon blood vulture flew close to the ground, not daring to fly too high. Firstly, there was the spatial pressure. Secondly, it would be easy to become a target if it flew too high. All of the ferocious beasts here possessed dragon essence. If they were noticed, their eyes would light up and they would immediately want to kill them and steal their dragon essence. Help me find the inheritance. If you find anything suspicious, remember to remind me. Snow swirled in the air, blanketing the sky and the ground in whiteness. It would not be easy to find the inheritance left behind by the Yen Emperor, who was skilled in ice and snow. Fortunately, with the demon blood vulture's help, Shao Chen felt relaxed. He closed his eyes and cultivated on the demon blood vulture's back. Although he was multitasking, it did not delay his search for the inheritance. At the same time, the other princes gradually entered the Yen Huang ancient forest. However, the places they appeared in were all different. They could appear in an ancient pine forest, a wild plain, or a rocky desert. In the middle of a yellow desert, a sandstorm was blowing wildly. After the first prince Wang Fei landed, he frowned slightly. Without saying anything, he directly drew his Yen Imperial sword. In the next moment, the Yen Imperial sword gave off a bright light, and dragon images circled it. So. The mysterious black-clad man with the left eye, the Imperial Ancestral Temple's trump card, the six-veined Sovereign Emperor Zuoyu, the Black Lotus Holy Son, and the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter appeared one after another. The other guests chose to act alone, searching for the inheritance or hunting ferocious beasts. The Black Lotus Holy Son said softly, "This is just the first round. Your Highness, there is no need to waste your dragon luck to summon us." Wang Fei replied indifferently, "Naturally, I am confident of clearing the first round. However, I sent you here for another reason. I know of a superior grade inheritance of the previous Yen Emperor. I called you here to ensure that nothing goes wrong." Originally, the inheritances left by the previous Yen Emperors were not graded. However, there were strong and weak Yen Emperors. The inheritances they left varied in value and value. Gradually, the later generations added a grade to the inheritances, using this to distinguish the quality and rarity of the inheritances. The Imperial Ancestral Temple had a better understanding of the ancient Yen Emperor tomb and could provide the first prince with more information. A superior grade inheritance was considered an extremely incredible inheritance. Naturally, Wang Fei would be interested. "Oh, so that's it. In that case, you can accompany Brother Wang. I will not interfere in this excitement." Even though this person wore a half-mask on his left face, revealing his eye, the first prince could still make out a bored expression on his face. Without waiting for Wang Fei to answer, the masked man left without saying goodbye. "How dare you?" Zui Yu frowned slightly. In his opinion, the first prince deserved death for such disrespect. The Black Lotus Holy Son, Ming Xian, said softly, "Your Highness, please calm down. Lord, she has always been like this. What exactly is the inheritance that the first prince is so interested in? Miss Qing and I will definitely do our best to help." Yang Qing smiled sweetly, looking like a cool breeze. Then, she looked at Wang Fei and said, "Your Highness, please lead the way." Wang Fei smiled coldly in his heart, but he did not show it. He smiled and said, "Commander Zhou, let's go. There is no need to make a fuss over nothing. Lord, she is an honored guest that I invited. Naturally, an honored guest cannot be treated like an ordinary person." The many princes' guests started moving around the ancient Yen Emperor tomb's periphery. In an ancient pine forest, the fourth prince Wang Yun drew his Yen imperial sword and gathered a few important guests to his side. One of them wore a hood and wrapped himself up tightly. This was the hidden spirit temple's Yuan Zhen. Wang Yun looked at Yuan Zhen and asked respectfully, "Mr. Yuan, what should we do? The other princes should be focusing on searching for inheritances. However, fourth prince, your accumulations and strength are rather weak. You should not fight with others. If you suffer losses, the gains will not make up for the losses. Just obediently hunt ferocious beasts and collect dragon essence. We can talk about this after this round." A hoarse voice came from the hood, making people feel a little uncomfortable. The other guests felt somewhat upset. What was the point of coming to the ancient Yen Emperor tomb if not to search for inheritances? The fourth prince Wang Yun already made up his mind about Yuan Zhen's words. After some thought, he said, "Let's do as Mr. Yuan says. Everyone, hunt ferocious beasts and collect dragon essence. I will definitely reward you generously after this. Furthermore, hunting ferocious beasts does not mean that you will not run into any treasures. Everything is possible in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb." After Wang Yun said that, the other guests' resentment subsided slightly. Yuan Zhen kept a low profile in this round, not showing any intention of exposing himself. Good. Heaven is really helping me. The White Marsh Beast Empires by Yunfei, who was on the 13th prince's side, appeared extremely excited. After some thought, he said, "This place is simply the best for cultivators with great desolate Ian bloodlines like us." Wang Yi revealed a smile. He was somewhat surprised as well. The great desolate Ian aura of the ancient Yen Emperor tomb was even more horrifying than the legends made it out to be. Aside from the two royal court experts, the rest of Wang Yi's 18 guests were sovereign emperors from the Bushan Palace. "Senior Sikong, what should we do in this round?" Sikong Shu, who was dressed like a fisherman in a straw raincoat, appeared exceptionally calm. After some thought, he said, "We will split into 3 groups. We have the greatest advantage in the first round. We will take as many inheritances as we can. There is no need to waste inheritances. If we can raise our strength, we will refine them on the spot and not delay. After some time, most of them will adapt to the spatial pressure here. The advantage of their bloodlines will not remain much. Hence, we have to use our advantage in the first month to gain an even greater advantage. Wang Yi's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, with Senior around, it is like having a treasure. All right, we will follow Senior's instructions. We will split into 3 groups in this round. We will take as many inheritances as we can. Everyone knew that unless one hunted extremely horrifying ferocious beasts, it would be hard to collect enough dragon essence. Even if one hunted strong ferocious beasts, it would be a thankless task. Clearly, searching for inheritances was killing many birds with one stone, benefiting both sides. Aside from some of the more special princes, the other princes and their guests were all searching for inheritances. The many imperial ancestral temple elders on the Dao platform at the palace's drill ground made their moves together. A huge light screen rose up and flickered, showing the many princes and guests in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. The ancient Yen Emperor tomb had been remodeled several times. Although there were still many forbidden lands, the Imperial Ancestral Temple already had a rough grasp of the place. As long as the Imperial Ancestral Temple elders wanted to, they could see the situation everywhere at any time. However, it would be somewhat difficult to interfere. The big show had officially begun. Snow fell heavily. 3 days had already passed in the vast snowy region. However, the demon blood vulture had not found anything. On the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Qin, who was cultivating the 10,000 dragons art, opened his eyes. The night wind and snow were cold. It was hard to find anyone, and the signs of life were faint. When Xiao Qin looked up, he saw churning clouds. He could not see the sun, the moon, or the stars, only the vast snow. Could this inheritance have been destroyed? After 3 days without any results, Xiao Qin felt suspicious. Such a guess was possible. After all, it was at the periphery of the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. In every succession race, the ancient Yen Emperor tomb would be the first to bear the brunt of the impact. It was not impossible for the succession race to be destroyed. Hey, just at this moment the heavy snow weakened, and the thick clouds in the sky slowly thinned. In the middle of the night, the thick clouds scattered, and a bright moon silently appeared. The bright moon hung high in the sky, looking as gentle as fire. Xiao Qin had never expected the bright moon to be this bright. The continuous heavy snow seemed to wash away all the brilliance of the bright moon. In the air, there was still snow falling sparsely. Under the illumination of the moonlight, the remnant snow in the air and the boundless white snowy land gave off a mottled light. The clouds parted, the moon came, and the remnant flowers made shadows. The boundless snowy region created a wondrous scene. Xiao Qin muttered to himself as he sat on the demon blood vulture and admired this beautiful scene. Will this be the opportunity one am waiting for? Chapter 2281. The clouds broke, the moon came, and the flowers turned into shadows. Xiao Qin muttered to himself on the demon blood vulture. Perhaps this was the opportunity he had been waiting for. After searching for 3 days in this vast snowy region, he had not found anything. Now that the change was sudden, there had to be something strange about it. That is, Xiao Qin looked to the front. He vaguely saw a dreamy palace bathed in moonlight at the limits of his vision. Without overthinking, Xiao Qin got the demon blood vulture to rush over at full speed. Only scattered snowflakes drifted in the air. The gentle moonlight warmed one's heart like fire. The chill in the night lessened significantly. The originally vast and boundless snowy region, which lacked life force, suddenly turned somewhat chaotic. Xiao Qin thought to himself, "It looks like there are many people like me hiding in this snowy region." Suddenly, 3 figures appeared from the left and unexpectedly ran into Xiao Qin. On the demon blood vulture, Xiao Qin showed a calm expression, showing a relaxed gaze. The other 3 felt slightly stunned and kept their guard up. However, when they saw Xiao Qin on the demon blood vulture, their expressions immediately relaxed. Xiao Chen, the oldest of the three, the gray-clad, middle-aged man, smiled faintly and said softly, "I've heard of you. You were the one who ruined the first prince's wedding. You even fought against the three princes in the Smiling Daughter Pavilion by yourself. These three were the 10th prince's guests. The 10th prince's strength was below average. On the surface, he looked about the same as the 9th prince. It looks like rumors are just rumors. Even if a two-veined sovereign emperor can overturn the heavens, how strong can he be?" The gray-clad man originally felt wary, thinking that he had run into a strong enemy. When he saw that it was Xiao Chen, his expression immediately eased up. Xiao Chen looked up. The moonlight turned brighter, and the ancient palace in front slowly became clearer. Under the illumination of the moonlight, the aura of the Ice Great Tao was hidden under its white exterior. Without needing to guess, he knew that this was the inheritance land. However, it only showed itself under the moonlight. Hence, there were no signs of it during the first 3 days. Xiao Chen looked at the gray-clad man before him, a peak three-veined sovereign emperor. There were flames hidden in his eyes, and a terrifying power was brewing in his body, giving off a strong sense of oppression. "So?" Xiao Chen said lightly. "It's not good to get into a conflict with this person now. I'll decide what to do after I reach the inheritance ground and meet up with the 10th prince." One of the three, a white-haired old man, secretly transmitted his voice to the gray-robed man. The gray-clothed man's eyes were slightly disappointed. He had a strong desire to fight and wanted to trample on Xiao Chen on the spot. But in the end, he felt that the inheritance was more important, so he endured it for now. Such an attitude was not strange. Xiao Chen was just a two-veined sovereign emperor, yet he could become famous in the imperial capital. There would always be some people who felt dissatisfied. If he could trample on him, his reputation would become even more prominent. In one's life, fame and fortune were all that mattered. Naturally, those who wanted to fight for it would fight for it. Even sovereign emperors could not avoid it. Count yourself lucky. Let's go. The gray-robed man didn't want to waste his breath on Xiao Chen. With a cold snort, he turned around and left. How boring! Xiao Chen felt speechless. The demon blood vulture he sat on flashed with a red light. In this ancient Yen emperor tomb, Xiao Chen possessed a great desolate Eon bloodline and the 10,000 dragons art. The pressure he faced was 70 to 80% less than the others. Xiao Chen increased his speed slightly. The three, who were walking in front, heard the sound of wind behind them. When they turned their heads back, they only saw an afterimage left by a flash of scarlet light. When the three quickly turned their heads back, they saw Xiao Chen sitting on the demon blood vulture, about to leave their vision. This startled the three. They had not expected Xiao Chen to be so fast. In the eyes of the person who recalled, Xiao Chen's actions were undoubtedly mocking him, so he immediately felt enraged. "Damn it! How dare you, Xiao Chen? You were acting like a coward earlier. I was not paying attention, and you took advantage of me. Chase after him." The gray-robed man took the lead. His divine energy surged, and his entire body released a fiery light as his figure flashed wildly. However, even after 15 minutes, he still did not see Xiao Chen's figure, which made him feel uncertain. This Xiao Chen must be hiding. The gray-robed man looked around helplessly when he did not see Xiao Chen's figure. Never mind. Since he is hiding, there is no need to fight with him." The white-haired old man and another person rushed over and consoled the gray-robed man when they saw the situation. The gray-robed man took advantage of the situation and said coldly, "Count him lucky. I hope I don't run into him again." The ancient palace looked magnificent under the moonlight, giving off a faint fluorescent light, looking dreamy. However, in front of the palace, there were 2 ice statues blocking the entrance. The ice statues gave off the aura of a 4-veined sovereign emperor. As they connected with the moonlight, they merged into one, deterring rash actions. Not far away, A prince dressed in luxurious clothes looked at the ancient palace with excitement on his face. However, the guest at the side advised softly, "10th Prince, it is best not to act rashly for now. It will not be too late for us to enter after Senior Rong arrives." The 10th Prince nodded. "These two ice statues are somewhat strange. Indeed, we cannot act rashly. Aside from me, the guests of the other princes in this snowy region are all scattered soldiers. When Senior Rong arrives, this ice inheritance will be mine." Whoosh! Right after the 10th Prince spoke, a strong wind blew behind them. The two turned their heads to look and shouted, "Who is it?" Amidst the snowstorm, no one responded. There was only a flash of burning blood light, which was like a fleeting glimpse. It was so fast that the two ice sculptures didn't even have time to react. Then, it turned into a scarlet beam of light and entered the palace. The 10th Prince happened to see this scene when he turned around. His expression immediately changed drastically as he roared, "Damn it! Who is so bold to snatch the inheritance that I want?" Seeing that the 10th Prince was about to charge in, the expert at the side quickly supported him and said anxiously, "Your Highness, don't be rash. Those two ice statues are not dead." Whoosh! The eyes of the two ice statues sensed the 10th Prince's figure and flickered with bright light. Two cold intents assaulted the 10th Prince, scaring him into retreating. Inside the palace, Shao Chun sat on the demon blood vulture's back. He watched coldly as the surrounding ice statues came to life. Then, he leaped down from the air. The instant Shao Chun landed, he activated his alloy dragon armor, and his aura changed drastically. A sharpness burst forth from his forehead. Dragon motifs adorned his silver armor, and electric light flickered. Shao Chun reached for the scabbard on his back. Just as the ice statues were about to pounce over, he drew his saber. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the man and the vulture charged madly through the ancient palace, completely unbridled. Shao Chun swept through everything in his way, not stopping at all. Everywhere he passed, there were all sorts of strange treasures. However, Shao Chun only glanced at them and did not pay them any more attention. 1 hour later, Shao Chun charged to the core hall of the Ice Palace and stopped. Many ice-attributed treasures were casually placed on the surrounding walls. Natural treasures covered the ground. This was simply a dreamy treasure trove. Everything that Shao Chun wanted could be found here. However, Shao Chun did not show any wild joy on his face. Along the way, Shao Chun felt very confused. This inheritance was at the periphery. After the succession race, it should not have been emptied out. At the very least, there should not be such treasures left. It looks like your rationality did not get to your head. Congratulations on passing the test. Whoosh! The ceiling seemed transparent. When one looked up, they could see the bright moon. Under the dazzling light, a middle-aged man dressed in white with an elegant temperament seemed to have descended from the moon. When Shao Chun looked carefully, he found that this person looked somewhat similar to the Yen Emperor. Shao Chun vaguely guessed that this should be the remnant will of the Yen Emperor who left behind the inheritance. "The treasures on the ground are all fake?" Shao Chun asked. The white-clad Yen Emperor smiled warmly and replied, "Wrong. They are all real. However, there is only one. It contains the ice inheritance that I left behind. Everyone who comes in has only one chance to choose. As long as one makes the wrong choice, not only will one not obtain any treasures, but one will also be forcefully sent out. This inheritance of mine will also close and await the next opening of the ancient Yen Emperor tomb." Shao Chun entered deep thought. That is to say, no one has chosen the right one even after 10,000 years. I have a question. If I choose that supreme treasure containing the inheritance, can I obtain the other treasures? Shao Chun asked without changing his expression. The white-clad Yen Emperor smiled and said, "You seem very confident. However, you cannot. If you find the right one, you will have two choices. One is the ice inheritance that I left behind, and the other is the other treasures containing dragon essence. Disappointment flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. After some thought, he said, "That is really unfortunate." Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he walked straight to an item. The white-clad Yen Emperor's expression immediately changed slightly. Intense surprise flashed in his eyes. However, this surprise mostly contained a wild joy that he had suppressed for thousands of years. However, Xiao Chen did not even bother looking at the treasures. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and a beautiful, blood-red rose by the wall appeared in his palm. The white-clad Yen Emperor asked softly, "How did you guess it? I thought that you would need to think about it for a while before making a decision." The answer was given long ago. After entering this palace, anyone who still needs to think would not be able to guess it. When the white-clad Yen Emperor heard that, he smiled faintly and said, "That's right. The clouds break the moon and the flowers show the shadows. Only the rose is red in the snow." Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he continued calmly. "If you are not a soulmate, don't enter this door." "Ah, delightful. Unfortunately, you and I are not in the same era. Otherwise, I would not be so lonely. I should be able to guess your choice. I hope that some of my insights will be useful to you." Outside the ancient palace, the gray-clad man's group finally arrived, panting from exhaustion. "10th Prince, fortunately, we did not let you down. We rushed over at our fastest speed. No one in the entire snowy region should be faster than us." The gray-clad man was incredibly fatigued, but his eyes showed pride. Along the way, he had shaken off the many guests, leaving them in the dust. The 10th Prince showed an embarrassed expression, not saying anything. The person at the side said, "Senior Rong, someone already entered. That person is very mysterious. Aside from a flash of scarlet light, I did not notice anything else." "What?" The gray-clad man's heart immediately trembled like lightning struck him. He cried out hoarsely, "It's Xiao Chen." To think that Xiao Chen did not hide. "He went ahead of us. How can this be?" "Senior Rong, it is too late. We need to move quickly." The gray-clad man startled awake from his daze. After some thought, he said, Right. Quickly charge in." With the 4 guests gathered, the 10th Prince's confidence soared. With the gray-clad man leading the way, they charged at the 2 statues. Boom! However, all of a sudden, without any warning, the entire ancient palace exploded. Shock waves surged, and the few people went flying. The gray-clad old man bore the brunt of the explosion. Blood trickled down a corner of his lips, and he appeared incredibly pale. After he landed, he tumbled a few times. Chapter 2282. The 10th Prince and the other 3 guests immediately revealed looks of joy in their eyes. They knew very well that this was not the case. They knew very well that this gray-clad man did not erupt with power. Once he did, the surging energy would be like a 10,000-year-old volcano. Even a 4-veined sovereign emperor would not be able to endure it. This punch was called summoning the dragons. However, as the 10th Prince looked at Xiao Chen's unchanging face, he could not help sweating profusely. However, Xiao Chen wore the alloy dragon armor, and his combat prowess soared. He did not intend to hold back at all. The surrounding space fluctuated vaguely, as if many cultivators were about to cross space and arrive. The 10th Prince endured the intense pain and looked up at Xiao Chen, meeting Xiao Chen's arrogant gaze. The 10th Prince felt like a mountain separated the two, and a boundless pressure pressed down on him. Clang! Pop! Just as the 10th Prince felt confused, a beam of red light shot out from the churning dust cloud. After defeating one person with one punch, the 10th Prince's remaining 3 guests could not resist at all. The 10th Prince's bodies trembled, and his internal organs shattered. His divine seal exploded and turned into flowing light. A terrifying saber wound, about 1 centimeter long, appeared on the 10th Prince's chest. Blood spurted out like a fountain. Xiao Chun had at least 100 ways to make the other party take the initiative to give up. The 10th prince felt very dissatisfied. However, what else could he do if he did not agree? Let go of me first. On the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Chun frowned slightly. The 10th prince wanted to gather all his guests to surround and suppress him. Roar! Don't. Damn it. My ice snow inheritance, no one can take it away from me. After thinking hard, the 10th prince thought of the only way to make Xiao Chun let him off. The force that erupted out was indeed startling. To think that it allowed him to block Xiao Chun. The 10th prince goggled, flabbergasted. He showed a stunned expression as he watched Xiao Chun charge over. He actually felt somewhat stupefied. As he circulated his energy for the Supreme Dragon Fist and supported by the 10,000 Dragons picture, Xiao Chun brought out the Heaven Dragon's mysteries to their fullest. The surging fiery energy in Xiao Chun's body was like an erupting volcano. At that time, he would be the first to be eliminated miserably in the eyes of the feudal lords and noble clans' clan heads. The image of a dragon coiled around the sword, and with the support of the draconic luck, the spatial pressure in this area actually weakened significantly. After drawing the tyrant saber, a dazzling saber light flashed out. This completely eclipsed the light of the 10th prince's yen imperial sword. Then, he mercilessly chopped down. If he could choose again, he would definitely not meddle in other people's business. He would just watch Xiao Chun fly away from him. Every prince had their own luck stored in the yen imperial sword. The dragon essence collected by the guests would eventually gather in the prince's yen imperial sword. The emperor essence would the Zhao's dragon, the heaven's dragon spirit's Chen's star. And the spatial pressure even more. The jade strip in his palm was sparkling and translucent, like a peerless piece of jade. The jade strip flowed like a spring, nourishing the image of a dragon. Heaven Chin dragon. Mu dragon. Xiao Chun to say Heaven Ling by no. The 10th prince's yen imperial sword had already fallen from his hand. At this moment, he felt so much pain that he could not think. When the 10th prince landed on the ground, he could not get up in time. Just the 2 4-veined sovereign emperor ice sculptures in front of the palace gates showed how horrifying the energy would be when they exploded. The 10th prince thought about the 2 4-veined sovereign emperor ice statues in front of the palace gate. Clang! Boom! I have dragon essence. In the past few days, Senior Rong and the others helped me kill many ferocious beasts in the snowy domain. I managed to collect some dragon essence. If you are willing, I can give them all to you. Many thanks. The 10th prince felt terrified just thinking about it. Such an embarrassing matter was hard to accept. When he thought about how he might be the first person to be eliminated from the succession race, he felt terrified. When Xiao Chun sheathed his saber, moonlight shone on his saber. It looked like clear spring water flowing in the air. This stomp landed on the 10th prince's chest wound, producing an unbearable shriek. Golden dragon images swam in Xiao Chun's divine energy sea. A supreme dragon might spread out from his body. All right, I promise you. Stop him. Stop him. When I gather all the guests, it will be the time of his death. As the 10th prince watched Xiao Chun knock away the gray-clad man with one palm strike and leave without pausing, he raised his eyebrows slightly. Then, he waved his hand and executed the Dragon's Gate's secret technique, Firmament's Rage. A murderous intent burst out from Xiao Chun's forehead. He had already gone far away. The instant the 10th prince let go, he quickly stood up and took out a medicinal pill to consume. Dragon essence was the materialization of the Son of Heaven's luck. In other words, it was dragon luck. Xiao Chun spread his arms, and his voice spread through the air like a dragon soaring in the sky, appearing elegant and tyrannical. When the 10th prince landed, a scarlet light streaked across the sky and caught him. Then, it turned into a beam of scarlet light and flew away with the wind. Never mind. I can give you 1/5 of the dragon essence in my yen imperial sword, no more than that. 1/4, damn it. 1/3 is fine, right? Horror flashed in the 10th prince's eyes as he shouted anxiously. When the 10th prince transferred half of the dragon essence in his yen imperial sword to Xiao Chen's jade strip, the 30-meter-long dragon image on the 10th prince's sword immediately shrank by half. Don't scram. Just take the initiative to give up. Pa! The 10th prince did not give the gray-clad man any space to dodge. Xiao Chen did not fear the 10th prince going back on his word, so he waited quietly. A well-preserved ancient palace exploded, and all the restrictions and formations within it collapsed in an instant. The world is unfair, and the evil dragon rules the world. How can one be respected? Luck is not on one's side, and one's life is as fragile as paper. What is supreme? Xiao Chen drew his yen imperial sword, and a flash of sword light illuminated the room. Whoosh! What's going on? The gray-clad man bore the brunt of the attack and got blasted into the air, sustaining significant injuries. Boom! Before the gray-clad man could look at Xiao Chen smashed him down with a palm strike. Xiao Chen, stay behind. Xiao Chen withdrew his fist and grasped the scabbard on his back with his right hand. Then, he drew his saber expressionlessly. The gray-clad man on the ground immediately became enraged. The surging energy in his body burst out at full force. Boom! Whoosh! Whoosh! A saber intent burst out like a tsunami, directly shattering the 10th prince's armor. However, there were no ifs in this world. The 10th prince's desire to gather his guests to surround and suppress Xiao Chen caused him to experience pain and fear that he had never felt before. The 10th prince wiped the sweat off his forehead, drenching half his sleeves. Half of the sky was dyed red by the raging flames. This sudden burst of power could be said to be vast and mighty. The 10th prince immediately understood that the dragon essence could reduce the spatial pressure. As time passed, the advantage of the great desolate Ian bloodline would vanish. Scram! Its senior Rong's magma Dao domain. Immediately, thousands of saber wounds appeared on the 10th prince's body. Electric light flickered on every saber wound as they entered his body. They came like flowing water and disappeared like the wind. Vast and mighty dragons wandered the world, entering the sky and the sea. Who was honored? Boom! Xiao Chen gently clenched his fist, and warmth filled his entire body. The chill from the snowy region vanished. Imperceptibly, the other retainers of the 10th prince all felt the spatial pressure they were facing suddenly increase sharply. The instant the 10th prince turned around and soared into the air, he left behind a purple electric mark. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the 10th prince out of nowhere. However, on the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Chen sniffed the fragrance of the roses. His expression remained calm, not changing at all. In theory, if a prince did not take the initiative to give up, no one could make him leave. However, the 10th prince now lay at Xiao Chen's feet. Clang! The 10th prince fell to the ground. The wound on his chest no longer hurt, but he did not know when the shadow in his heart would disappear. Since entering the ancient Yen Emperor tomb, Xiao Chen had not stopped cultivating the 10,000 dragons art. The 10,000 dragons art erupted from the 10th prince's mouth. The remaining 3 guests appeared in front of the 10th prince, trying to help him block Xiao Chen's attack. The gray-clad man, who was smashed deep into the snow, screamed like a wolf's, in so much pain that he wanted to die. Of course, Xiao Chen could not kill the princes. At the very least, he could not kill the 10th prince. However, letting the 10th prince off so easily was not Xiao Chen's style. Xiao Chen said calmly, "If you are not willing, I will send you away now." This punch was called Leaderless Dragons. The rage of a great desolate Ian ancestor dragon crossed time and space, descending in all directions. A gigantic hand shot out electric light from its palm. With the support of the Dao domain, the 5-element divine lightning materialized a small world. Xiao Chen. The 10th prince went berserk, feeling extremely dissatisfied. He was the first to arrive at the ice inheritance. The moment he saw it, he had already determined that the ice inheritance belonged to him. This is endless. Chapter 2283. A good show played out in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. A huge light screen in the Imperial Palace's drill ground showed the scenes there. Under the control of the Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Patriarchs, the various feudal lords and powerhouses could see what was happening on the light screen. The 13th prince is really incredible. He split his forces into 3 groups and already conquered 4 inferior-grade inheritances. Wang Yi's guests were all outstanding talents with great desolate Ian bloodlines. They held a huge advantage when they first entered the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. The other prince's guests endured the spatial pressure and did not dare to clash head-on with the 13th prince for now. Most of them chose to avoid the spatial pressure. The spatial pressure in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb was simply too great. The ever-present Great Desolate Aeon aura prevented people from bringing out even 50% of their strength. They could only wait until they gathered sufficient dragon essence and gradually adapted to the spatial pressure. The first prince is really lucky. To think that he found a superior grade inheritance. The light screen showed that the first prince was leading Zuiyu and the others in attacking an inheritance whose dragon luck was clearly stronger than that of the other places. However, whether the first prince was lucky or the Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Patriarchs provided sufficient insider information, everyone understood. Ha ha ha. The 4th prince is really unlucky. He could not find an inheritance and can only hunt demonic beasts. I don't think he can last this round. Hey, what's wrong with the 10th prince? His luck actually decreased by half. He is in the snowy region. If I recall correctly, no one has entered the ice inheritance there. It is one of the most complete inheritances in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. What's going on? The ice inheritance is gone. When the light screen showed the 10th prince, Xiao Chen happened to have already left, so no one noticed. The light screen only showed the 10th prince's pale face and dispirited face, as well as the collapsed ancient hall behind him. What a fellow! Who exactly got such a great bargain? Although this ice inheritance is a medial grade inheritance, it is complete. If one can obtain it, it will be even more valuable than a superior grade inheritance. Although a superior grade inheritance was of a higher grade, it was hard to say for sure that no one managed to enter it in the succession race. It was hard to say how many things could be left for the later generations. Given this, the value of a complete inheritance became clear. At the summit of a snowy mountain in the vast snowy region, Xiao Chen stood on the summit, facing the wind and snow as he looked at the scarlet blood rose in his hand. He had to choose between the ice inheritance and the ice great Tao. Without a doubt, Xiao Chen chose the latter. Let's take out the dragon jade first. Any treasure in the inheritance contained dragon essence. Furthermore, it contained more dragon essence than the average demonic beast. When the jade strip absorbed the dragon essence in the scarlet rose, Xiao Chen felt that the dragon essence in the jade strip had increased by half. The rose contained dragon essence, which was slightly more than the dragon essence that the 10th prince had given him. In the jade slip, the dragon essence was sparkling and translucent like an immortal spring. In the next moment, the dragon essence that was being nurtured within suddenly took form and leaped out. It swam up and down around the jade scroll. Xiao Chen reached out and held the jade strip in his hand. He immediately felt the spatial pressure of the entire ancient Yen Emperor tomb vanish. I didn't expect to collect a dragon shadow so quickly. Xiao Chen revealed a look of joy on his face. Being able to collect dragon essence so quickly was indeed a great surprise to him. As far as he knew, it should be rather difficult to collect a dragon shadow. Dragon shadows would appear only when the amount of dragon essence reached a certain level. The more dragon shadows around the jade strip, the more luck there was. It's time to absorb the ice great Tao in it. Xiao Chen muttered to himself after putting away the jade strip. Compared to the dragon essence, the ice great Tao that the scarlet rose represented filled Xiao Chen with even more anticipation. Right now, Xiao Chen's ice great Tao had already reached the second layer. He looked forward to absorbing this scarlet rose to see how much it would improve. Of course, the most important thing was to comprehend the white-clad Yen Emperor's understanding of the ice great Tao. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and grasped the rose tightly. The thorns on the rose pierced his palm, connecting with his blood. The bright red roses, watered by the blood, were as beautiful as blood, giving off a strange light in this vast snowy region. Boom! Suddenly, the rose disappeared, turning into bright flower petals that filled the air, flying together with the snow. The wind was unclear. Would it be a rain of roses or a bloodbath? Xiao Chen closed his eyes and sat down cross-legged. Then, he slowly spread out the ice Tao domain, filling the air with rose petals and snow. The rose petals turned into motes of light and entered Xiao Chen's body. While Xiao Chen refined the ice inheritance, the other prince's guests did not remain idle. Yellow sand flew everywhere, and sand dunes rose and fell. The mysterious black-clad man, who had parted ways with the first prince, wandered aimlessly in a sea of sand. This black-clad man wore half a mask, and his strange left eye flickered with a deep blue light. No one dared to look directly at him. It felt like if one looked at him for too long, one's soul would sink into it. Many ferocious beasts lived in the sea of sand. Occasionally, one could see guests who could not find the inheritance hunting them. Stop right there. Hand over all the dragon essence you collected. Just at this moment, two people rushed out from behind, and one of them shouted loudly. The many princes' guests came from all walks of life. After coming to the ancient Yen Emperor tomb, they revealed some of their bad habit. The black-clad man remained expressionless when he heard that. He silently turned around and glanced at the two. The scarlet cross in the depths of the black-clad man's left eye flickered with a weak light. The two three-veined sovereign emperors preparing to rob the black-clad man immediately felt a chill in their faces. Horror inexplicably welled up in their hearts. Plop, plop. The heart of the short-haired man on the right beat increasingly fast, so fast that he could not control it. He felt something choking his throat. His breathing turned ragged and he could not speak. Suddenly, without any warning, blood oozed out of that person's 7 orifices, and his heart leaped out of his chest. That person died on the spot, his eyes wide open. Before he died, he seemed to have suffered boundless torture, his eyes filled with boundless horror. Ah! The remaining three-veined sovereign emperor screamed in fright, trembling as he looked at the black-clad man. Such a scene was completely beyond his understanding. Boom! In his desperation, the black-clad man's aura surged, hating that he could not use up all his divine energy. The black-clad man ruthlessly threw a palm strike. The force of this palm strike gathered his divine energy, soul energy, and Tao domain, turning it into a fiercely burning eagle claw. This claw tore through the sky, and intense flames surged into the sky. Even a 4-veined sovereign emperor had to deal with it cautiously, not getting careless. This was the peak strike of this black-clad man out of extreme fear. He wanted to use this to buy himself some time to flee. Whoosh! The scarlet cross in the depths of the black-clad man's left eye spun frantically. In the next moment, something strange happened. The blazing eagle claw that seemed to be able to tear apart a small world got swallowed up by the black-clad man's left eye. There was no sound, no trace left. That black-clad man was utterly stunned. He even forgot to flee. When that black-clad man startled awake, he screamed and turned around to flee. However, just as he turned around, a strong suction came from him, and his entire body moved back. No matter how he struggled, he could not resist. That black-clad man could only grab at the air helplessly. Then, the wild berserk energy pulled him into the black-clad man's left eye. Crack! Crack! The black-clad man's left eye seemed to contain a powerful ferocious beast. After it swallowed up that black-clad man, it gave off cracking sounds. The surroundings were so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. If someone heard these cracking sounds, they would definitely be horrified, not understanding what was going on. 2-3 vain sovereign emperors died silently in the eyes of the black-clad man called Shi. One was frightened to death, and the other was swallowed alive. However, all this seemed insignificant in the black-clad man's eyes. The black-clad man's expression did not change at all. He turned around and continued strolling through the desert, heading for the place where the sun set. After a while, under the afterglow of the huge setting sun, the black-clad man finally saw the person he wanted to see, Yen Tsangming. Zhen Yuan stood at Yen Tsangming's side, hugging a saber as he stood at the side with his eyes half closed. Zhen Yuan did not look at the black-clad man, not even glancing at him out of the corner of his eye. The afterglow still shone on his face. "Brother Yen, we meet again." The black-clad man's expression finally changed when he saw Yen Tsangming. Then, he revealed a faint smile. "Lord Shi." Yen Tsangming performed a cupped fist salute and bowed slightly, expressing his respect for this person. "Brother Yen, you are still as polite as before. You know when to advance and when to retreat. How about it? Have you considered what I told you before you came?" The black-clad man asked indifferently, not minding it. Yen Tsangming said after some thought, "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint Lord Shi. I will not give this ethereal immortal palace key to anyone. However, I have never been disrespectful to Lord Shi, much less dare to be an enemy." Boom! The black-clad man's gaze sank, and his eyelids drooped slightly. Immediately, it felt like the sky pressed down heavily under his gaze. Even the huge setting sun seemed small above his head. Zhen Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. A brilliant light flashed in his eyes, which had been closed all this while. Zhen Yuan's right hand inadvertently grasped his saber's hilt. Mysterious black patterns appeared on Yen Tsangming's face, looking like dragon scales and looking somewhat sinister. Black death chi spread out from Yen Tsangming's body, squirming like it was alive. However, Yen Tsangming's expression did not change, and there was no hostility in his eyes. All of a sudden, all the pressure was swept away. The black-clad man's lips curled up. With this smile, the demonic clouds for 5,000 kilometers around scattered, and the setting sun turned bright. "Brother Yen, I have always treated you as a friend. How can you say such a thing? Even if you hold enmity for me, you will still be my friend. It is normal for friends to misunderstand each other." The black-clad man paused for a moment. Then, he suddenly shifted his gaze to the sky and said, "However, this friend, there is no point in hiding. Hey, where are you looking at? I'm behind you." The black-clad man's expression changed slightly. When he turned around, he saw a person leaping out of the setting sun. This person appeared out of nowhere with an indistinct smile on his face. He had a calm expression and carried a sword on his back. Chapter 2284. The appearance of this person in the sun surprised the black-clad man. To think that he could not grasp the other party's position. The black-clad man could not help showing some doubt. The black-clad man was very confident in his perception. In that case, did this person teleport in an instant, or had he been hiding in this ancient Yen Emperor tomb's sun from the start to the end? Zhen Yuan and Yen Tsangming exchanged glances. They both saw shock in each other's eyes. At the same time, they somewhat understood why the black-clad man suddenly stopped. It must be because of this person. The black-clad man's background and strength were extremely horrifying. This was especially so for his eye technique, which inspired despair. "I am certain that you are not among the prince's guests. Who are you? I am really curious." The black-clad man quickly recovered his calm as he spoke indifferently. "The Shuowu dynasty's first prince has been missing for more than 100 years. In the past decade, he appeared in the demonic Dao Hall. Rumor has it that he was born with a demonic eye that can plunge one into boundless fear. It can swallow up everything in the world, even bloodlines and souls. The person who arrived did not answer the black-clad man. Instead, he enunciated every word before continuing, "This prince's name is Shi. The demonic Dao Hall has already designated him as the Shuowu dynasty's crown prince. However, he remains extremely low profile. Even within the Shuowu dynasty, few people know about him." "Haha. It looks like you understand a lot about me." The black-clad man did not deny it. He smiled faintly and said, "However, I already know who you are. You are the universe origin sex Dao Scion Chu Chaoyun, a shocking genius who comprehended the primal chaos great bandit. You have answered my doubts about why I could not determine your location. Might I ask out of turn? Your primal chaos great Dao can confuse space, but can it confuse time?" Chu Chaoyun smiled and countered, "Why don't you guess? There's no need to guess. If you cannot, you can just die." A scarlet cross appeared in the black-clad man's eyes. Chu Chaoyun's expression immediately changed, and his figure slowly turned blurry in the air. Yen Songming felt slightly stunned. Then, he suddenly understood something and looked around. He saw Chu Chaoyun's figure appear where the black-clad man first determined Chu Chaoyun's location. However, the moment he appeared, his figure turned blurry again. "Where is he?" Yen Songming looked around. He discovered that every time he locked on to Chu Chaoyun, space would turn chaotic for some reason, disappearing from his vision. His figure continued to blur as he went further and further away. "Hee, you can't escape. Since I've discovered your secret, there's no reason for me to let you go." The man in black snorted coldly and turned his gaze to the front. The blood-colored cross in his left eye flickered with light and started to spin crazily like a cross on the ground. Whoosh! The space in the surroundings twisted, and the space in the sky, the ground, the front, the back, the left, and the right, there were no blind spots, were all sucked in by his left eye. No matter how Chu Chaoyun's figure flashed in the distorted space, he could not avoid it. In the distorted space, blurry figures were being sucked toward the left eye of the man in black. Because there was no dead angle at all. The black-clothed man stood on the spot, and everything in the space around him was devoured by his left eye. Chu Chaoyun's expression changed slightly, and he stopped running. The thousands of figures in the distorted space merged together, revealing his true body. At the same time, Chu Chaoyun quickly formed hand seals with both hands, showing a grave expression. At the critical moment, Chu Chaoyun's body released a weak light. That was the primal chaos Dao domain. The instant this weak primal chaos Dao domain was brought out, divine characters appeared in Chu Chaoyun's eyes. His eyes shone with an extremely resplendent golden light. The heavenly flame covering Chu Chaoyun's body looked like glass, resplendent and crystalline. That flame gave off an ancient aura, breaking through the barriers of countless epochs. Whoosh! The flame flowed through the distorted space like silver light, surging into the black-clothed man's left eye. The surrounding distorted space instantly recovered. Blood leaked out of Chu Chaoyun's lips as he took the opportunity to flee. The black-clothed man's expression did not change as he looked coldly in the direction that Chu Chaoyun had taken. Everywhere the black-clothed man passed, space turned chaotic and layered over. The black-clothed man could not lock onto Chu Chaoyun's figure at all. "Consider yourself lucky." The black-clothed man looked around and fixed his gaze on Yen Songming and Zhen Yuan, who were not far away. Then, his expression immediately changed. He smiled and said, "How embarrassing! I could not even trap an insignificant primal chaos Dao disciple. I've embarrassed myself in front of Brother Yen." The strength that Chu Chaoyun displayed earlier was not an ordinary kind of horrifying. Just that technique of distorting space alone was enough to make Chu Chaoyun tremble. Just that move alone gave Yen Songming a headache. However, before the black-clothed man, he could only flee. Although it was embarrassing, Yen Songming and Zhen Yuan did not think that Xiao Chen was weak. Yen Songming said softly, Lord Shi really knows how to joke. This primal chaos Tao disciple could not even retaliate before Lord Shi. He could only flee. Lord Shi probably did not even bring out 1,000th of his strength. When the black-clothed man heard that, he guffawed endlessly. This strange laughter was completely unfathomable. Yen Tsangming smiled embarrassedly. However, he felt somewhat uncertain in his heart. He did not know what this black-clothed man was up to. Brother Yen, you are a smart person. That's why I like making friends with you. It is understandable for friends to have some misunderstandings. The black-clothed man stopped smiling and looked meaningfully at Yen Tsangming. Yen Tsangming nodded and said, Lord Shi is right. Good. In that case, I will not beat around the bush. I will not insist on the ethereal immortal palace key in your hand. There is no need for me to tell you how to express yourself, right? The black-clothed man said calmly, giving off an unquestionable air. After some thought, Yen Tsangming said, If the ethereal immortal palace appears, I will definitely stand on Lord Shi's side. The black-clothed man smiled faintly and did not say anything more. Then, he looked around and fixed his gaze on Jin Yuan. The black-clothed man revealed a playful expression as he said softly, I sense fear in you. How interesting! After saying that, the black-clothed man shook his head and turned to leave. The black-clothed man's final words shocked Yen Tsangming. Yen Tsangming sent a voice projection, Zhen Yuan, did he discover your secret? It's hard to say. However, he is skilled in the fear Tao, even fear itself. It is hard to say if he discovered anything. However, he will definitely not discover the Black Dragon King's secret. That's good. Did you notice? Huh! He is injured. Zhen Yuan's expression changed slightly. Then, he looked at Yen Tsangming and frowned. Are you sure? Yen Tsangming's earlier respectful attitude vanished. He said coldly, I saw it very clearly. Earlier, that primal chaos true sun did not fluster in the face of danger. At the moment of life and death, he forcefully drove his primal chaos Tao domain and brought out the might of a true god's true flame. Shi's heaven-swallowing demonic eye is said to be able to consume everything in the world. However, that primal chaos true flame is also said to be able to burn everything in the world to ashes. Jin Yuan's eyes lit up. That is really good news. I keep feeling that he is an undefeatable existence. Even if I bring out my full power, I can only severely injure him. Yen Tsangming said seriously, this is one of his means. He wants to portray himself as undefeatable, planting the seed of fear in the hearts of everyone who comes into contact with him. The longer one interacts with him, the harder it is to defeat him. We have to thank this primal chaos true sun for breaking the seed that she planted in our hearts. Zhen Yuan sighed. Fear is truly incomprehensible. Haha. There is no need to care about that. The two of us only need to know that he has openings as well. Come, let's meet up with the sixth prince. Right. Yen Tsangming and Zhen Yuan immediately left, not wanting to linger. Chu Chaoyun, on the other side, the distant black-clad man muttered to himself with his eyes closed in the yellow sand filling the air. Black blood dripped down from his left eye along the half of his mask. Drip. The instant the blood landed on the yellow sand, all the spiritual energy and life force within 5,000 kilometers were swallowed up by this drop of black blood. Following that, the yellow sand filled the air, losing all life force. The surrounding 5,000 kilometers turned into a black desert. At a glance, one would think that the black blood had assimilated the desert. When the black-clad man opened his eyes again, a golden flame came out of his left eye. The black-clad man's pale complexion slowly recovered its color. As he looked at these flames, he revealed a look of disgust. Yen Tsangming, I hope you don't think too highly of yourself. The black-clad man snorted coldly and soared into the air, turning into a black cloud that vanished into the horizon. Chapter 2285. 2 days later, at the summit of a snowy mountain, Shao Chen, who had already completely refined the scarlet rose, opened his eyes, and his Dao might immediately soared. First layer, second layer, third layer, fourth layer. Shao Chen's ice Dao domain rose by 2 layers, reaching the 4th layer. The boundless benefits of the ice inheritance far surpassed Shao Chen's expectations, allowing him to gain a lot. Flowers bloomed before Shao Chen's eyes, and heavy snow drifted before him. With a thought, the radiating Dao domain turned into a cold light and withdrew. The Dao domain condensed in Shao Chen's hand, turning into a glistening scarlet rose. Shao Chen casually waved his hand, and the rose scattered, turning into petals dancing in the air. Shao Chen's lips curled up in a satisfied smile. By relying on the white-clad Yen Emperor's inheritance, Shao Chen could instantly control the strengthened 4th-layer ice Dao domain as he pleased. With a thought, he could condense the 4th-layer ice Dao domain into a rose on his palm. With another movement, he could easily spread out the 4th-layer ice Dao domain, turning it into a rain of petals, forming a special field. It's time to search for other inheritances. After tasting the benefits, Shao Chen decided to continue searching for inheritances. Either he did not search or he went to superior grade inheritances. Only then could he gain something. However, he would probably have to go to a huge battle after this. 5 days had passed in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. Most of the guests had already adapted to the spatial pressure here, and with the dragon essence they had collected, furthermore, they had collected dragon essence and could no longer bring out less than 50% of their strength. Shao Chen executed the heavenly eye, and a vertical eye flew out from his forehead and hovered in the air. Shao Chen used the heavenly eye to look into the distance. He saw many things that others could not see. Others were conquering those inheritances, and no one was interested in those inheritances. He could also see it clearly, which could avoid a lot of trouble and save him a lot of time. After a while, Shao Chen withdrew the heavenly eye. Then, he grasped the jade strip and checked the map of the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. The inheritances in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb were left by the previous Yen emperors. The closer one was to the center, the more dangerous it would be. However, the level of the inheritances would also increase. Most importantly, the native ferocious beasts were stronger. Aside from this, there were many forbidden lands in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb. The so-called forbidden lands were places that even the Imperial Ancestral Temple could not figure out. 9 out of 10 people would die after entering. Where should I go? Unlike the jade slips of the other princes, Shao Chen's jade slips did not contain much additional information. For example, the first prince knew of some superior legacies that others did not know about, so he could easily make his choice. If it were Shao Chen, things would not be so simple. How to judge was crucial. Let's do it here. Our target is the Thunder Flame inheritance. Just now, I saw some of the prince's guests coming out with dejected expressions. I think they failed to break through. Shao Chen made his choice based on the information he saw with the heavenly insight god eye. All the previous Yen emperors of the Yenwu dynasty were swordsmen. Most of them were good at the fire Dao. There were also many geniuses who grasped 2 types of great Daos at the same time and could combine them perfectly. The Thunder Flame inheritance was such a place, the Thunder Dao and the Fire Dao. The demon blood vulture appeared, and Shao Chen leaped into the air and landed on it. 4 days later, the Thunder Flame inheritance appeared before Shao Chen. From the outside, it looked like a vast and imposing palace. There were many signs of battle nearby. Clearly, this Thunder Flame inheritance was a juicy piece of meat that several princes intended to occupy. However, it did not seem that easy to deal with. Thunderclouds covered the ceiling of the palace. Occasionally, lightning bolts descended. When the lightning landed, it immediately burned, scorching the surrounding 5,000 kilometers around the palace. Without a certain level of strength, it would be difficult to enter. Someone is coming? Shao Chen frowned slightly. In the next moment, he turned into a purple electric mark and instantly vanished. Whoosh! Whoosh! Soon, 3 figures descended from the sky. A horrifying emperor's might instantly spread out. Shao Qin saw from the shadows that the 13th prince's guests had also charged into this inheritance. 2 of the 3 middle-aged men gave off the aura of a golden dragon. They were horrifying 4 vain sovereign emperors. These 2 were called Qin Yu and Qin Liang. They were the dragon god crown prince Qin Ming's paternal uncles. The other person was even stronger, actually a 5 vain sovereign emperor. This person's eyes filled with wildness. He was the Heavenly Wolf Empire's expert, Tuoba-yun. The 13th prince's guests split into 3 groups, sweeping through everything before them. The 3 of them were one of the groups. They had already conquered several inheritances. Then, they targeted the Thunder Flame inheritance, which had already troubled several princes. There seemed to be someone earlier? Tuoba-yun showed a calm gaze as he cautiously sized up the surroundings, using his soul energy to sense. After some thought, Qin Yu said, "I saw it as well. However, I only saw a vague figure that looked like someone." A sinister light flashed in Qin Liang's eyes. He snorted coldly and said, "It's Shao Qin. He is the person that the purple gold dragon emperor wanted to kill. He should have sensed us coming and entered first, or he is hiding. In that case, there is no need to care about him. He is just a mere 2 vain sovereign emperor. He is not a threat." As a 5 vain sovereign emperor, Tuoba-yun was qualified to say that. Right. If he dares to show himself, he. The 3 did not say anything more. They ignored the descending thunder flame as they strode towards the palace. This is somewhat problematic. Shao Qin frowned slightly. The 3 were all great perfection sovereign emperors. This was especially so for Tuoba-yun, a 5 vain sovereign emperor. The most crucial thing was that there were 2 golden dragon race great perfection sovereign emperors. Shao Qin had a deep grudge with the golden dragon bloodline, nearly to the point where they would not rest until one side was dead. Everyone in the golden dragon bloodline viewed Shao Qin as a thorn in their flesh, wishing to get rid of him as soon as possible. Never mind. I have to obtain the Thunder Flame inheritance. A cold look flashed in Shao Qin's eyes. As for the 2 golden dragon race great perfection sovereign emperors, he had to kill them once he made a move. Shao Qin gently pushed off with his feet and entered within 5,000 kilometers of the palace. Moving as light as a swallow, Shao Qin weaved through the thousands of thunder flames as he pleased. Soon, he entered the palace. Indeed, there was a world inside. Only a metal bridge connected the 2 ends of the vast space. The bottom was a horrifying, pitch-black abyss. The end of the bridge led to an unknown place. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of the metal chains reverberated endlessly in the dark space. Thunder roared endlessly in the depths of Shao Qin's sea of consciousness, shocking him. Fortunately, Shao Qin's divine seal was strong and did not get affected. He walked steadily on the bridge, not flustered. After he was done, he entered another passageway. Using the light from the lamps on the walls, Shao Qin turned his head back to look. He discovered that the bottom of the metal chains was filled with green thunder flames burning endlessly. Piles of white bones floated on the surface of the thunder flames. These were all sovereign emperors who had fallen from the metal chains. This looked like a simple path, but so many people died during experiential training. Bona fide sovereign emperors died here. This was truly lamentable. Sovereign emperors had tested it before, and it was already comparable to divine materials. After being burned by the thunder flames for thousands of years, it gave off a jade-green light. There's sound. Soft footsteps rang out, startling Shao Qin slightly. Damn it! We actually ran into the 8th prince's guests at the final step after much difficulty. Let's go. These 3 great perfection sovereign emperors are pretty good for not robbing us. Hee. I guess it is because they have conquered too many inheritances. That's why they do not care about our gains. After a while, a group of people appeared in front of Shao Qin. This group was bustling with dispirited expressions, clearly in a bad mood. There were quite a number of people, at least a dozen of them. After failing to break through the Thunder Flame inheritance in a few one-on-one battles, the mercenaries from different factions decided to team up. Who could have imagined that they would run into Tooba Yun's group of 3 and be chased out? Before strength, they had no choice but to submit. Xiao Qin? Someone recognized Xiao Qin and was slightly stunned, clearly stunned. Nearly all the prince's guests had heard of Xiao Qin's name. It was not strange for someone to recognize him. Xiao Qin nodded slightly and said, "Excuse me." Then, he continued walking forward. Just as Xiao Qin was halfway there, someone suddenly shouted coldly, "Stop! What advice do you have?" "Nothing much. I heard that you have a medial-grade soul tool. You must have gained a lot in the ancient Yen Emperor tomb, right? We would like to take a look." The one who spoke was a purple-clad, middle-aged man. Greed flashed in his eyes. Right after that person spoke, the others showed playful expressions. Although they belonged to different factions, they had formed an alliance before death. Even if Xiao Qin had a medial-grade soul tool, it would still be easy to deal with a two-vein sovereign emperor. Wasn't it a piece of cake? They had the advantage in numbers, and it wasn't a problem at all. Chapter 2286. The purple-clad, middle-aged man's name was Zhang Ping. He was the 18th prince's guest, a peak 3-vein cultivator. Those who could cultivate to sovereign emperor before 500 years old were incredible existences. Those who could cultivate to 3-vein sovereign emperor could be considered outstanding talents, considered experts in Yen City. However, among the many prince's guests, Zhang Ping could only be considered average. After being chased away by the 13th prince's 3 guests, Zhang Ping felt frustrated. When he suddenly saw Xiao Qin, he immediately had a bad idea. Zhang Ping immediately had a bad idea. Under Zhang Ye's instigation, the greed in these people's hearts stirred. Relying on their numbers, they became even more ferocious. What's wrong? Is young Master Xiao not willing? In that case, don't blame us for bullying you. You are still young and should not be willing to leave the ancient Yen Emperor tomb so early, right? The purple-clad, middle-aged man, Zhang Ping, smiled mischievously. He thought that he had grasped Xiao Qin's weakness, certain that Xiao Qin would not dare to resist. When Xiao Qin heard that, he smiled instead of getting angry. After some thought, he said, "With your delay, I probably will not be able to obtain much benefit from this Thunder Flame inheritance. Never mind. I'll just take some losses from you." "Brat, you must be dreaming." A 2-vein sovereign emperor with a fiery temper charged out of the crowd. This person was a 3-vein sovereign emperor with a stocky build. With one look, it was clear that he cultivated a special body tempering cultivation technique. "This grandpa will teach you a lesson." Star-breaking fist. Boom! The instant the man clenched his fist, an explosive force shot out. A strong wind howled like a saber. However, this man's fist light was even faster than the strong wind. He moved like lightning as he punched. As its name suggested, the star-breaking fist could shatter an average-sized star in the outside world when practiced to its peak. Given this man's cultivation, he had clearly practiced this fist to its peak. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he could shatter a star in the outside world. Flickering lantern flames appeared in Xiao Qin's eyes as he instantly executed the candle dragon eyes. A candle dragon head image behind Xiao Qin opened at the same time. Then, a formless ice flame entered the man's body. The man's explosive speed slowed down before Xiao Qin. "Kneel." When he got close, Xiao Qin let out a cold shout and lifted his leg to crush his knee. With a miserable shriek, the burly man fell to his knees in front of Xiao Qin. The ice flames swept through his limbs, bones, internal organs, and soul pool, causing him so much pain that he wished he were dead. Xiao Qin, who already possessed the 4th-layer Ice Dao domain, executed the Candle Dragon Eyes. Its might was already incomparable to before. Shao Chen subdued a three-veined sovereign emperor with one kick. Horror flashed in the eyes of the other guests. Their hearts trembled. Shao Chen's strength clearly surpassed their expectations. I forfeit. The man kneeling on the ground couldn't stand the pain of the ice flames, and he couldn't focus on healing in front of Shao Chen, so he was forced to give up. Everyone, hand over a treasure and transfer half of your dragon essence to me. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving. Shao Chen swept his gaze across the crowd of guests who wanted to rob him and shouted coldly. Everyone, don't panic. No matter how strong he is just one person. If we attack together, even if a few of us die, we can still subdue him. The purple-clad, middle-aged man who spoke first shouted when he saw the situation, trying to boost morale. That was not wrong. Shao Chen could not defeat so many sovereign emperors. However, the purple-clad, middle-aged man forgot one thing. If Shao Chen wanted to leave, even if there were twice as many people, they could not stop him. Shao Chen was born undefeatable. However, this group of people belonged to different princes. How could they dare to risk their lives to surround and attack Shao Chen? Wishful thinking. Damn it! Zhang Ping raged in his heart. He knew that if he did not take the lead and delay Shao Chen, the others would not make a move. Shao Chen, don't be arrogant! Whoosh! A saber light appeared, and Zhang Ping took the lead to charge at Shao Chen. A sharp saber light instantly encased Shao Chen. Zhang Ping did not dare to be careless, not holding anything back. He merged his divine energy, soul energy, and Tao domain. He brought out everything he learned in his life into these saber lights. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, Shao Chen should not have executed his saber techniques before someone who comprehended the saber great Tao. This was simply making a fool of himself. You have not even comprehended the saber Tao domain, and yet you dare to draw your saber before me? Who gave you the courage? Shao Chen mocked. He did not make a move, just casually walking around the saber lights that he saw as full of openings. Immediately, the boundlessly ferocious and tyrannical saber technique that others saw as boundlessly tyrannical move. Shao Chen looked like he was taking a leisurely stroll, not even staining his clothes. Seeing that someone was fleeing quietly, Shao Chen stopped wasting time with them. He placed his right hand on the scabbard on his back and said coldly, "The saber is not for you to play with." Clang! Shao Chen drew the tyrant saber with the support of the saber Tao domain. It easily shattered Zhang Ping's vast saber technique. Then, the tyrant saber hacked down heavily. Clang! The saber in Zhang Ping's hand flew away. Zhang Ping could not resist the huge force at all, instantly falling to the ground. Lie down for a while longer. Without even looking at Zhang Ping, Shao Chen spun the tyrant saber around and stabbed it back. The tyrant saber pierced Zhang Ping's chest amid a startled cry, pinning him to the ground. At the same time, the god Shadow Bow appeared in Shao Chen's hand. He released his divine seal, drew back the bowstring, and released an arrow. The arrow pierced the hearts of the two sovereign emperors who had already stepped onto the metal chains, causing them to fall. Even 5-veined sovereign emperors could not block the horrifying thunder flame below. Naturally, only death awaited the two. Is there anyone else who wants to leave? The bow in my hand is called God's shadow. Even a great perfection sovereign emperor would find it hard to block this arrow of mine. There is only one way out. If you dare, you can give it a try. Shao Chen spoke with a relaxed tone. His tone did not sound like that of a 2-veined sovereign emperor. The group of guests was stupefied when they saw this. With a raise of his hand, Shao Chen easily took down 2 3-veined sovereign emperors. The combat prowess he showed already rivaled that of a 5-veined sovereign emperor's. Let me go, and I'll give you a treasure. This is my jade strip. Zhang Ping grasped the tyrant saber with both hands. Electric light flickered on the saber, but he could not pull it out of his chest. He fell into utter despair. The first to submit to Shao Chen was to say that Shao Chen was unwilling to leave the ancient tomb. However, the one who was truly unwilling was Zhang Ping himself. With the example of Zhang Ping and the body-tempering man and the deterrence of the god Shadow Bao, this group of people had no choice but to submit. This group of people felt so regretful that their intestines turned green. They even cursed Zhang Ping's 18 generations of ancestors in their hearts. Everything was fine. Just let Xiao Qin walk over. Why did you stop the other party? After this group of people left, Xiao Qin looked at the watery and heavy jade strip and revealed a satisfied smile. Another dragon image swam around the jade strip. As for the treasures, there was an even greater pile. There were rare great desolate Aeon herbs, ancient divine materials, and ferocious beast souls. Even if Xiao Qin could not obtain the Thunder Flame inheritance on this trip, he had already profited greatly. If others do not offend me, I will not offend them. If others offend me, I will repay them tenfold. Xiao Qin put away these treasures with a peace of mind. Then, he tightly grasped the jade strip and turned to head into the depths of the palace. After looking at the god Shadow Bao in his hand, Xiao Qin entered deep thought. Then, he took out the death god mask and wore it. In that instant, Xiao Qin's aura vanished, becoming one with the darkness. There were 2 4-veined sovereign emperors and 1 5-veined sovereign emperor. They had the noblest backgrounds and outstanding talent, possessing great desolate Aeon bloodlines. The motley crew from earlier could not compare to these 3. The difference in strength was like heaven and earth. If Xiao Qin could deal with or severely injure one of them, it would be much easier to fight. In the depths of the Thunder Flame inheritance, Tuoba Yun, Qin Yu, and Qin Liang fought a group of Thunder Devils and Flame Devils. The Thunder Devils and Flame Devils did not have bodies of flesh and blood. They were spirits born in the world and did not have high intelligence. However, they were hard to destroy and possessed horrifying destructive power. The most troublesome thing was that if one could not kill these Thunder Devils and Flame Devils in one strike, they would quickly revive. Hence, the Thunder Flame inheritance blocked the attacks of the many princes, not breaking through. However, it was hard to say now that the 3 met to Oba Yun's group. These 3 truly lived up to being elite sovereign emperors carefully selected from the 8 great empires. They did not show any fear when facing the many Thunder Devils and Flame Devils. Nearly all of them killed in one strike. Occasionally, an expert could not kill in one strike. Another person would quickly make up for it, working well together. As for the Heavenly Wolf Empires to Obayun, he was even more incredible. He was currently fighting a mutated ferocious spirit alone. This ferocious spirit seemed to be a combination of a Thunder Devil and a Flame Devil. Half of its body flickered with electric light, and the other half was filled with surging flames. When the 2 merged, the ferocious spirit could switch between them as it pleased. With the support of the 2 Dao domains, it could bring out a Dao might close to the 9th layer. Even so, Tuoba Yun dealt with it very easily, appearing calm and at ease. It seemed like Tuoba Yun did not want to spend too much effort. He wanted to wait for Qin Yu and Qin Liang to finish off the other ferocious spirits before the 3 worked together to kill it. As the 3 fought intensely, they did not notice a figure merging into the darkness and observing for a long time. Tuoba Yun cannot move. Clearly, he is holding back. The god Shadow Bao might not be able to hit him. I can only target Qin Yu or Qin Liang. Xiao Qin, who had been observing for a long time, already made up his mind. He drew the bowstring and the heart flame burned, filling the arrow with arrows. Chapter 2287. Xiao Qin released his divine seal and infused his soul energy into the bow. The instant the heart flame filled the arrow, he let go. Whoosh! Nearly at the same time Xiao Qin let go, Qin Yu, who was preparing to kill a lightning fiend, felt his chest explode. A bowl-sized hole appeared in Qin Yu's chest, and blood spurted out like a fountain. The heart flame in the arrow entered the wound and corroded Qin Yu's entire body. His mind shook, and the divine seal in his soul pool flickered and dimmed. A large amount of soul energy leaked out uncontrollably. Pah! The lightning fiend fighting Qin Yu did not even think before throwing a palm strike. The instant the wriggling purple palm struck Qin Yu's head, lightning fell from the sky at the same time. Boom! The severely injured Qin Yu, who was already on the verge of death, died on the spot. His soul scattered, and he no longer showed any signs of life. Everything happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. The pitiful Qin Yu did not even have time to bring out his great desolate Aeon bloodline or his many life-saving treasures. He died just like that. Second brother. Not far away, Qin Liang was stunned for a long time when he saw this scene. Everything happened too quickly. From the moment Xiao Chen let go to Qin Yu's death, only 2 breaths had passed. Qin Liang could not save Qin Yu in time even if he wanted to. He could only watch as Qin Yu's corpse turned into a pile of mush. The lightning fiends continued to strike Qin Yu, a tragic sight to behold. After this arrow was shot, unless Xiao Chen left immediately, he would definitely expose himself if he remained here. Xiao Chen took off the death god mask and slowly revealed himself from the darkness. Qin Liang, who startled awake, narrowly dodged the attacks of the lightning fiends and the flame fiends. When he saw Xiao Chen's true appearance, he was enraged. Xiao Chen, you mixed blood dragon, how dare you kill my second brother? The alloy dragon armor appeared. Xiao Chen showed a calm expression, unperturbed. Back in the Divine Dragon Empire, the Golden Dragon bloodline had nearly driven him into a corner. After he managed to escape with great difficulty, he still suffered 2 fatal assassinations. Each time, his life hung by a thread. Since Xiao Chen met this Golden Dragon expert, how could he show mercy? Should he wait for the other party to kill him? Impossible. Don't worry, you'll be accompanying him soon. Electric light flickered as silver battle armor covered Xiao Chen's entire body. Purple dragon patterns adorned the armor, and a reverse scale pendant hung on his forehead. After activating the alloy dragon armor, Xiao Chen's aura surged, and his entire aura changed. The withdrawn sharpness was completely revealed. Dragon might spread out, looking solid. Humph, I didn't come looking for you, but you actually delivered yourself to me. You're courting death. Seeing that not only did Xiao Chen not run, but he was charging towards him instead, Qin Liang laughed sinisterly. A set of golden dragon armor appeared. It looked dazzling with golden light, and dragon silhouettes flew around. However, compared to Xiao Chen's combined dragon armor, it was clearly much weaker. Tuoba Yun, who was currently fighting the Thunder Flame Devil, frowned slightly. He wanted to help. However, he could not be careless with the Thunder Cliff demonic fiend before him. It was not something that he could escape just because he wanted to. If he left and waited for it to return to its peak, all its previous efforts would have been in vain. With this thought, Tuoba Yun stopped holding back and attacked with all his might. He planned to quickly deal with the Thunder Flame Devil before helping Qin Liang deal with Xiao Chen. Furthermore, in Tuoba Yun's opinion, if not for a sneak attack, Xiao Chen might not have been able to kill Qin Yu. At the very least, Xiao Chen would not lose to Qin Liang in a head-on clash. One thought could change many things. With this thought, Qin Yu's fate was already decided. Emperor Dragon Fist. Supreme Dragon Fist. Xiao Chen and Qin Yu quickly clashed. Dragon roars rang out, and dragon images flew everywhere. One side executed the Golden Dragon Race's Emperor Dragon Fist, and the other executed the Supreme Dragon Fist. The Emperor Dragon Fist was known as the Dragon Race's top offensive technique. Among all fist techniques, no one could match it. However, the prerequisite was that the Supreme Dragon Fist did not appear. In a few breaths, the two exchanged 100 moves. With every punch and every move, Qin Yu actually ended up at a disadvantage. No matter what he did, he could not reverse the situation. The most crucial thing was that Xiao Chen completely suppressed his Golden Dragon might. The Golden Dragon in his body did not even dare to raise its head. Qin Yu immediately felt somewhat flustered. The Golden Divine Dragon was the strongest of the Divine Dragon bloodlines. Aside from the Heaven Dragon, what other dragon race bloodline could suppress it? However, Qin Yu did not know that Shao Chun had the Blue Dragon bloodline. Furthermore, he had the royal Blue Dragon bloodline conferred by the royal genealogy. You are just an insignificant mixed-blood dragon, and you dare to be impudent. Back off! Qin Yu shouted, giving up on fighting Shao Chun with his fist technique. Then, he took out a sword radiating an Emperor Dragon might. This was an inferior-grade soul tool. The most crucial thing was that it contained the Divine Dragon Empire's Emperor Dragon might. This sword was far from what an ordinary inferior-grade soul tool could compare to. The dazzling sword gave off a bright light. A vague image of countless dragon images kneeling and worshipping appeared amid the light, recounting the tens of thousands of years of glory of a legendary race. With the support of the Emperor Dragon might, Shao Chun felt a mountain-like pressure. He actually felt an urge to submit. This was the reverence the dragon race bloodline had for their race's dragon emperor. When facing this sword, it is like a dragon race disciple personally descending. You insignificant mixed-blood dragon, why are you still not kneeling? Qin Yu revealed a cocky expression. He thought to himself, you are quite capable to be able to force me to draw this sword. However, it ends here. Ignorant! Shao Chun smiled coldly in his heart. It is just a fake Holy Land, not the true Emperor Dragon sword. Instead of dodging, Shao Chun advanced instead of retreating. Before Qin Yu's shocked gaze, he drew the soul tool, Heavenly Slayer. Dang! The saber and sword clashed. Qin Yu, who wanted to salvage the situation, vomited a mouthful of blood and took another 3 steps back. His right hand, which held the sword, exploded. He lost all feeling in his arm. This is Heavenly Slayer, the soul tool of my dragon race's treasure trove. It has been missing for a long time. How did it end up in your hands? You speak too much. Qin Yu, who was already at a disadvantage, panicked. However, Shao Chun did not give him a chance to speak. Using the might of Heavenly Slayer, Shao Chun unleashed a sharp saber move. Oh no! Tuoba Yun, who was dealing with the Thunder Flame Devil, sensed the might of Heavenly Slayer. Then, he looked at the two's battle. Tuoba Yun goggled. Qin Yu, a bona fide 4-vein sovereign emperor with the Golden Dragon bloodline, actually ended up in such a sorry state. Not to mention Qin Yu's body riddled with injuries, he even activated his bloodline. His situation did not change at all. However, during this moment of distraction, the shock waves of the Thunder Flame Devil's attack struck Tuoba Yun, shaking his soul and making his qi and blood surge. Damn it! Qin Yu felt helpless. The more anxious he became, the more chaotic he became. He was about to deal with the Thunder Flame Devil, but it ended up injuring him instead. Brother Tuoba, save me! The Emperor Dragon's sword flew out of Qin Yu's hand. Frightened out of his wits, he called out loudly. Resolving the mundane. Regardless of whether Tuoba Yun decided to make a move or not, Shao Chun did not intend to let Qin Yu live. Even if Shao Chun had to endure one of Tuoba Yun's attacks, he had to kill this person today. Since the mundane was resolved, it was eternal. Heavenly Slayer released an eternal and inextinguishable saber light. Shao Chun remained expressionless as he turned into an ancient Buddhist venerate. He had transformed into an ancient Buddha, and the 7 emotions and 6 sensory pleasures had all vanished. All his obsession was in this saber strike. Die. After losing the Emperor Dragon sword, and facing a killing move executed by a medial-grade soul tool, even if he had 9 lives, he would not be able to survive. The instant the saber light chopped down, Qin Yu's defenses shattered layer by layer. Dissatisfaction filled Qin Yu's face, and horror filled his eyes. However, he could not do anything, only watch as the saber descended. The saber completely shattered Qin Yu's physical body and soul. Shao Chun sheathed his saber and unhurriedly picked up the Emperor Dragon sword replica and the jade strip containing the dragon essence the two left behind. Ka Xie. At this moment, the Thunder Flame Devil finally died at Tuoba Yun's hands. Tuoba Yun grabbed a primal chaos pearl flickering with lightning and flame. It was very difficult for the Thunder Flame Devil and the Flame Devil to merge. Furthermore, they merged so perfectly. The Thunder Flame Devil left behind was definitely a supreme treasure. After Shao Chun put away the Emperor Dragon Sword and the Jade Strip, he happened to meet the eyes of Tuoba Yun, who had turned around. There was no fear in Tuoba Yun's eyes at all, only calmness. It was like killing 2 4-vein sovereign emperors was nothing to be proud of in Shao Chen's eyes. There was no joy or sorrow, just calmness. Tuoba Yun felt shocked in his heart. What a terrifying mental state. Fortunately, he did not take the risk to save Qin Yu earlier. Otherwise, if he had been severely injured by the Thunder Flame Devil's counterattack before its death, it would have been very difficult for him to face this youth. However, now Tuoba Yun no longer had any worries. No matter how stunning the other party was, he had no chance of victory before his deep cultivation. Furthermore, Tuoba Yun still had many trump cards that he had not used yet. Earlier, you had the chance to attack me, Tuoba Yun said indifferently, not in a rush to attack. Tuoba Yun did not rush to make a move. At the same time, he calmly observed every detail of Shao Chen's body. Tuoba Yun was referring to the instant Shao Chen killed Qin Yu, before he finished off the Thunder Flame Devil. However, Shao Chen did not grasp this excellent opportunity. Instead, he went to pick up the Emperor Dragon Sword and the Jade Strip the two left behind. There is no need. You have been holding back. Even though you decided to quickly kill the Thunder Flame Devil, you still have trump cards that you have not used. If I make a move, I will instantly suffer a lightning-quick strike from you. As a 2-vein sovereign emperor, I cannot endure a peak strike from a 5-vein sovereign emperor. Shao Qin spoke with a calm expression, showing no openings. Tuoba Yun's expression changed slightly as he said coldly, "Since you know that you cannot defeat me, why are you still not scramming? Is that so? I did not say that. Naturally, I am not leaving because I want the Thunder Flame inheritance. You are very naive to think that you can monopolize it." Shao Qin saw through the other party's thoughts, revealing a mocking expression. The instant Shao Qin spoke, he opened his right hand, and a scarlet rose slowly bloomed on his palm. Whoosh! Shao Chen's peak 4th layer ice Dao domain instantly spread out. As snowflakes drifted down, a chill assaulted him. It's not over yet. The instant the snowflakes landed, resplendent electricity burst out of Shao Chen's body. The lightning patterns on his alloy dragon armor lit up. With the support of the alloy dragon armor, Shao Chen's peak 5th layer Thunder Dao domain broke through 2 layers, reaching a startling 7th layer Dao might. Ice and lightning layered over each other. His Dao might soared again, approaching the 9th layer. The instant Shao Chen opened his palm, his aura soared. He was no weaker than Tuoba Yun, even slightly stronger. "Come, let me see what ability you have to make me scram." Fighting spirit blazed in Shao Chen's eyes. He remained calm as he stared at Tuoba Yun, taking the initiative to challenge him. Chapter 2288. "Come, let me see what ability you have to make me scram." The calm expression in Shao Chen's eyes and his calmness enraged Tuoba Yun. Since when did a junior dare to be so arrogant before him? 4th layer Ice Dao domain, 6th layer Thunder Dao domain, pretty good fusion. However, you are too naive if you think that you can fight me with this. I'll show you what a 5-vein sovereign emperor is. Tuoba Yun felt like his dignity was being challenged. If he could endure at this moment, he would be letting down his heart of the martial Dao. Boom! Right after Tuoba Yun spoke, 5 rings of light burst out behind him. Each ring of light represented a divine vein. Furthermore, these rings of light were dense and vast, giving off an ancient feeling of being one with the heavens. This fully revealed Tuoba Yun's deep cultivation. This showed that Tuoba Yun's divine energy was not something an ordinary sovereign emperor could compare to. Like Shao Chen, Tuoba Yun had used up a lot of resources to refine it several times. His cultivation technique might not be as good as the 10,000 Dragons art. However, given the Heavenly Wolf Empire's accumulations, it should not be too far off. Tuoba Yun came from an empire's royal clan, had outstanding talent, a strong bloodline, abundant resources. It was no exaggeration to label Tuoba Yun with all these things. Tuoba Yun was the kind of outstanding talent that was born with a higher starting point than others and could persist in bitter cultivation. With hundreds of years of accumulation, even without any fortuitous encounters, such a person would be much stronger than an ordinary four-vein sovereign emperor. Bang! Vast divine energy surged like the sea, giving Tuoba Yun a strong aura. After he snorted coldly, he brought out his Thunder Dao domain as well. Tuoba Yun's Thunder Dao domain was only at the 5th layer. However, with the support of his divine energy, it was no weaker than Xiao Chen's. A strong wind howled, accompanied by thunder. Crack! Crack! Tuoba Yun's aura surged out like a surging wave. Just the shock waves blasted the many thunder devils and flame devils in the area into pieces. What a strong emperor's might! Withdraw, Xiao Chen said softly as he withdrew the 2 Dao domains that he radiated. When the other party's overwhelming aura arrived, Xiao Chen punched out. Lightning and ice surged. Xiao Chen broke a hole in his opponent's momentum. Moving like a dragon, Xiao Chen leaped out of the opening and dodged the attack. This is just the beginning, kid. When Tuoba Yun saw that Xiao Chen did not dare to clash head-on with Xiao Chen, he smiled coldly and filled the entire space with his Dao domain. 5 light wheels flickered behind him as he closed in on Xiao Chen and slammed his palm down. Roar! The moment he thrust out his palm, the 5 light wheels behind him condensed into a howling white wolf. Heavenly Wolf shatters the sun. Supreme Dragon Fist, raging at the unfair heaven. Xiao Chen did not show any fear in the face of danger. He circulated the 10,000 Dragons art, and dragons emerged from his divine energy. Boundless divine energy turned into raging flames that blasted out. Bang! Bang! Immediately, thousands of dragon images leaped out of Xiao Chen's fist light, forcefully blocking Tuoba Yun's attack. Die! Tuoba Yun revealed a sinister smile. The instant Xiao Chen's attack came into contact, he immediately changed his move. After a feint, he clenched his left hand into a fist and punched at Xiao Chen's chest. You are still too inexperienced to fight me. This is my true killing move. Dang! When the fist light landed on the alloy dragon armor, it produced a loud sound as if it had struck a metal mountain. Electric patterns flickered on the alloy dragon armor, looking dazzling. Blue Dragon Warbody, awaken! Xiao Chen shouted and activated the Divine Dragon Body Tempering Art. His body awakened inside the alloy dragon armor, and the Blue Dragon War Body materialized a layer of inner armor, negating most of the force from Tuoba Yun's punch. Candle Dragon Eyes. The lantern flames in Xiao Chen's eyes flickered, and the icy demonic flame instantly landed on Tuoba Yun's body, burning fiercely. Whoosh! Tuoba Yun grunted and quickly retreated. Electric light flashed in his body. Then, he released a strand of extreme electric light from his body. Tuoba Yun used a large amount of divine energy to force out the thousands of icy flames. After suffering a small loss, Tuoba Yun felt enraged. He roared, Heavenly Wolf swallowing the moon. The light wheels of the 5 divine veins formed a huge heavenly wolf. It opened its huge mouth and leaped out, heading for Xiao Chen. That huge mouth was boundlessly vast. It could swallow a river, the setting sun, the stars, and the bright moon. Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram. Xiao Chen's figure moved like the cool breeze, moving up and down. As he waved his hand, a painting unfurled. Bang! It was a ferocious, ferocious, ferocious dog that dared to swallow the sun and the moon. When it crashed into the painting, it was like a ferocious beast crashing into a steel plate, knocked back. One painting separated life and death. No matter how much you swallow the moon, what can you do to me? What the heck? Blood leaked out of a corner of Tuoba Yun's mouth. He felt an incredible toothache. Earlier, the heavenly wolf was connected to his soul. When Tuoba Yun crashed into the Taiji Inyang flame diagram, he felt like an ordinary person crashing into a steel plate. The pain made him grimace and look miserable. Tuoba Yun tumbled a few times in the air. When he tried to see the Taiji Inyang flame diagram clearly, he discovered that Xiao Chen had already withdrawn it. Thunder Monarch Spear. Xiao Chen opened his palm. With the support of the Thunder Dao domain, the five-element divine lightning formed a short spear shining with bright light. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The many Thunder Monarch spears in Xiao Chen's hand shot out like arrows. As Xiao Chen executed the Divine Firmament 9 variations, the Thunder Monarch spears formed by the five-element divine lightning covered the place. When the spears landed on the wall with restrictions, they stabbed deep into it, creating spiderweb-like crack. After suffering repeated setbacks in his attacks, he suddenly faced such a thunderous attack that covered the sky and covered the earth. Tuoba Yun wanted to dodge, but he could not. Several Thunder Monarch spears stabbed him. Electric light exploded, causing Tuoba Yun to cry out in pain. Although Tuoba Yun looked miserable, he was not truly severely injured. After all, he still had his vast cultivation as a 5-vein sovereign emperor. If it were another 3-vein sovereign emperor, one spear strike would have killed him, scattering his soul. Such torture nearly drove Tuoba Yun crazy. He wanted to execute a killing move several times to fight to the death with Xiao Chen. However, he discovered that Xiao Chen moved around. Aside from leaving behind purple electric marks, he could not determine his true body. Damn it! If you have the guts, stop hiding! Tuoba Yun roared as he shattered the Thunder Monarch spears, flustered and exasperated. As you wish! Thousands of electric images gathered in the air. The instant Xiao Chen revealed his true body, he drew the soul weapon, Heavenly Slayer. Mahamaya Abstinence Violation Saber, entering Hell. Xiao Chen used a medial-grade soul tool to execute the powerful killing move, entering Hell. In that instant, an Azura hell descended upon the world. Xiao Chen held a hellish evil dragon materialized by Heavenly Slayer as it descended, wanting to swallow up the world. F***CK. The might of the world breaking and hell descending truly startled Tuoba Yun. He couldn't help but curse. With a wave of his hand, he summoned a wolf-tooth mace with sharp saw-teeth that flickered with a black light. He used it to meet Xiao Chen's saber. As the light spread out, all sorts of mysterious phenomena shattered. The entire space turned hazy. When everything vanished, Xiao Chen stood in the air, clad in the alloy dragon armor, and carrying the tyrant saber on his back. Tuoba Yun stood on the ground, holding the mace glowing with dark light. He panted heavily as he looked helplessly at the calm and collected Xiao Chen in the air. He felt that he was clearly stronger than the other party, but he was at a disadvantage, unable to hurt the other party at all. Instead, he ended up in a sorry state, covered in injuries. Tuoba Yun felt helpless. I give up. Let's do it this way. You and I will jointly obtain this Thunder Flame inheritance, but I want 70% because I was the one who killed that Thunder Flame devil. Tuoba Yun said coldly as he looked at Xiao Chen. Sure. Give me the Thunder Flame Pearl, and you can get 70%, Xiao Chen said softly with a calm expression. Scram. In your dreams. This is a rare primal chaos pearl. 60-40 then. I will get 60% and you get 40. Otherwise, there is no need to discuss it. You can continue trying and see if you can injure me. Xiao Chen's expression did not change, appearing somewhat cold and inhumane. 60-40 you get 60% and I get 40. Tuoba Yun's heart crumbled. Since when could a 2-vein sovereign emperor say such things to him in such a righteous and confident manner? However, when Tuoba Yun saw Xiao Chen's cold expression, he sighed in his heart. If I continue fighting, I might not gain an advantage. In any case, I already obtained the Thunder Flame Pearl. I'll just leave it at this for now. After consoling himself, Tuoba Yun said after some thought, "All right, I agree. Open a path." Xiao Chen pointed to the depths of the inheritance, at the final bronze door with restrictions. That's it for now. In the end, this Tuoba Yun was a five-veined sovereign emperor. Although Xiao Chen did not fear the other party, it would be hard for him to truly kill the other party. The ancient Yen Emperor tomb had just begun. There was no need to take such a risk. It was already sufficient for Xiao Chen to gain some advantage over the other party. One should never let greed blind one's heart. Tuoba Yun, who was holding his mace, felt very sullen. He felt that he was an expert of the Heavenly Wolf Empire's royal family. He felt like a bona fide expert of the Heavenly Wolf Empire's royal clan, but before Xiao Chen, he was like a dog being ordered around.